It is finally time. It's time for the milk. It will make sense later. Trust me, it will make sense later. Oh, the Saturdays and the milk. What a strange combination. I'm not the biggest fan of milk, I will be honest. I think it's okay. I think I already mentioned I had some chalky milk the other day. It was pretty nice. I just usually have other types of dairy, which is, it's still good. What about cheese? We all love cheese, don't we? I haven't really drunk milk in quite some time, but it's pretty good. Don't worry. Now it's legal again. Everything will be fine. Might seem completely deranged, but trust me, it's coming. It's coming. Oh, I think a lot of things changed in this past couple of days. UI-wise, on different websites that I use. One of them being Twitter. Before getting to the meat and potatoes of Twitter, I guess I will have to mention that this is not about, right now at least, about the current changes in the top brass, I guess would be correct. It's about the UI itself. I use some outblock tricks to block some information on the screen that might be annoying to look at when we are on stream. That changed. Usually we have the trending topics and whatnot on the side, and I've been using the same blocking for years. Stopped working today. I had to add a new block element to the list. I hate when they do this. I'm sick and tired of platforms like Twitter in this case, especially Twitter. I would say Twitter is a really good slash bad example of this. They keep changing things all the time. It's endless. They keep changing these little things, and you are left wondering, why are you like this? Nothing is working, because nothing makes any sense. Because you cannot commit to a single UI, no matter what you do. How is this so difficult? The DM part is probably the worst. They change it constantly. I think they're trying to crack down spam. Trust me, pal, it's not gonna happen. You will need to be competent for that one. It's not happening. I didn't mention this when it happened, I don't think so. Maybe it did. It's been 3 weeks? Kinda, around 3 weeks. Something like that happened to YouTube too. I say UI, but in this case it was not really the website. It was the smartphone app. I do believe the app is just the web view, but still. Without actually updating, the UI was changing. Right now it's back to normal, thankfully. Let me pick up the phone so I can actually explain what I mean. You get into the app, and you have, I don't know, a bunch of recommended stuff. You can just doom scroll forever, whatever. And you should have at the bottom home, shorts, subscriptions, and you just have a plus icon. I think that's to make content from the phone. I wouldn't recommend it. It was not like that for me for about a week or a week and a half on the app. For some reason, the scrollable part of the top where you have topics, all live gaming, music, mixes, podcasts, audio commentaries, RPGs, anime, recently uploaded, news to you, so on and so forth. It was not there. Instead, at the top, I had, I think it was something like home slash for you in subscriptions. It was very strange. It was very difficult to use the site during that time. I'm glad that they changed it back. But then again, you have to remember, front-end developers do this all the time because they have to justify their existence. If you have the best UI in the world, they're just going to fire you because you're not working anymore. But you should still maintain it. You should still strive for something that's good. Not something that's just an absolute disaster. Then again, YouTube and new eyes, yeah, been getting worse for what, 15 years? Probably just since the beginning. So I shouldn't be really surprised. I'm just disappointed, I guess. Just like that. Son, I'm just disappointed. Now that's an old meme. Horrifying. Horrifying. There's also the case in Facebook, I believe. I don't use it, and I wouldn't want to. But, yeah. Yeah, Facebook. Oh, but I was following some people and I don't see their posts anymore. Yeah, it's Facebook. I guess you're just beholden to the algorithm. People who you follow, a following tab like we have in Twitter? No. So I guess in a sense, Twitter is actually not that bad. I guess it could be way worse. God, I guess it could be way worse. We shouldn't be living like this. Now we're talking about websites, right? UIs should be useful. Should be, dare you say, good. This is something they cannot tell you when you start learning programming. Not the best, that's front end. I do prefer the back end. I think it's more interesting. I don't have an artistic eye. I'm not horrible at it. But usually they ask you for far more than I'm capable of, I'm afraid. If you had to split an UI, the UI is ass. Wow, lo and behold. Does it sound familiar? A little bit too much. I don't like it. I don't like it. Pains me to no end. And I do think that's happening a lot in recent times. I don't use really a lot of sites. I actually don't like social media. I just use Twitter because I can get a lot of information from it. I also get sometimes fun memes, and I can connect to to the Japanese side of the internet, which I think is kind of fun. It's back. It's kind of back, at least for me, which is kind of cool. Yesterday was pretty funny. I was listening to some music and doom scrolling for a little bit, and I saw not a tweet from, but a tweet about a niche celebrity that I somewhat enjoy. I enjoy the music, despite the guy doing a lot of different things. I was listening to one of his songs at that point and was like, oh wow, it's so cool. It finally happened. I know that guy. So I liked the post. I refreshed the page. 15 tweets in a row just in Japanese. And I was like, we're finally back. But this is not what I was trying to say. This is actually about Instagram. I don't know anything about Instagram. I know a friend of mine uses, or at least used Instagram as some sort of crystal ball. When we would get together back in the day, playing TTRPGs and whatnot, we finished the session, we were just waiting for dinner, and sometimes, as you do, being old people, all being anybody that's older than 20 in this case, I guess, we're just wondering about these people we knew from middle school and high school. Where are they right now? And he would use Instagram to find about them. My mother uses Instagram. Well, I guess it's correct. She's not an avid Instagram user, but she uses Instagram because it's, I don't know. She looks at the TikTokies. I know they're not TikToks, they're called, what, Reels? I just call them TikToks to piss people off. I think it works. And every single time I see that UI, it's horrible. I understand how it works because I understand there's a method to the madness. But there's too much madness. Normies will not understand the UI. Wow, you wanna go to your bookmarks? Good luck with that. Why is it so difficult? Why do you have to navigate through 3 or 4 different menus? It's insane. I hate modern UIs. Why does everything need to be so round? Where's the edge? Where's the corner? Please. I'm just a little bit like that, but I think it's too tacky. I remember why this is a thing. This started so many years ago. It was a template that was used, I think it was called Bootstrap, or something like that. It was okay at the time, but I really thought it was way too round. Not everything is just a circle. All these squares make a circle, make it make sense. It doesn't. That's the mistake of this. But I guess, let me bring up some music here. For the time being. I guess it's actually final time to talk about Twitter. And what's happening with Twitter. Is it good? Is it bad? I actually have no idea. I don't think anything is going to change. How about this? Is it too loud? Yeah, that seems probably okay, right? Yeah, it's really fine. So, what do we have here for today? Well, congratulations. Satan is dead. Kinda, maybe. So we have here this post from Nikita Beer. As you can see already, the UI is different. I didn't change my cropping for the browser, but Twitter looks different. Why? Why are they like this? I don't understand. This guy was the head of product at Twitter for... I mean, X, I guess would be more correct. For about 2 years, give or take. Ladies and gentlemen, stand to pass the torch and demote myself to my natural state. Imposter. Are we gonna call this guy a shitposter? It wouldn't be wrong. I'll be stepping back from leading product for X and will continue as an advisor. Serving the X community. What do you use a different X now? Huh? What about this? It has been the privilege of a lifetime. X is and will remain the most important communication technology in history. But running this app is a 24/7 job, and it's now time for me to take a breather. I don't know if this is the most important communication technology in history. That's obviously an overstatement, right? The most important communication technology in history is the internet itself. Not saying that Twitter is useless, especially since Elon bought it. I do think that was pretty good. People were getting banned left and right, well, mostly just right? Just for questioning the powers that be and saying, hey, maybe the current thing might not be good, guys. How could you say this? How dare you be so evil? Banned. Happened too much. We are seeing unprecedented growth in new users and engagement. We continue to break records every month. We climbed 70 spots in the App Store since this time last year. In the last 400 days, we rebuilt almost every aspect of X. Not necessarily for the best, mind you. I don't really like the random changes to the algorithm. It feels a little bit like Brown and Circus too much. Oh jeez, this is big news from the US. You know what you need? You need cultural enrichment. We are gonna bridge the West and Japan. I mean, that was cool, but what are you trying to hide? Nothing has changed when you think about it, right? The timeline, the Android app, onboarding, notifications, chat, and more. The Android app. If you use the app, I'm gonna believe you're probably a little bit stupid. You don't need to use the app. I think it's actually a really bad idea. Why would you? When it's literally a web view. And just logging in the browser, it's really fine. Ah, but what about the others? Use Brave, I suppose. I'm not using Brave on my phone for Twitter. I was a little bit too lazy for that. I use Firefox. I am that guy, I'm sorry. And there's no redemption available for me. But still, I think I used the Twitter app once. And I literally mean once. When I was getting bombarded by notifications, and not even about interactions with my posts, I realized it was too bad. That was not for me. I'm watching the world's favorite social media and vigorously through others. It's so much easier than actually using it myself. You're not the only one. And trust me, it's probably for the best. It's an absolute shit show. Once again, I'm not a great poster. I would call myself a shit poster, but I barely post anymore. It's great to find information, and that's kinda it. I will always recommend people then get into Twitter. You're not really missing anything. Sadly, that didn't work really with my mother. Ah, but there's some people here I want to follow. But why? Why would you want to be On Twitter of all places. Ah, brother, it's kind of a strange look into the boomer mindset. It's just the cliche boomer. It kinda pains me to say so, but still. Even with the reduced censorship, I'm still not seeing the point. It just seems nuts. It's pure nuts. It's just Trauma City. But then again, it's... Trauma and news are somewhat related to some extent. There's a lot of trash. Oh, look, these two people got into a kerfuffle. Okay, alright, whatever. It's trauma number 557 of this week. Jesus. They have been helpful from time to time. I try to just get the useful things and try to ignore the overwhelming amounts of ass. We'll get into that in a little bit, mind you. I was kind of gliding on my mother. I'm not trying to be hateful or anything like that, but when you are named a billion numbers and you end up falling into the reply guy kind of shtick, it's difficult not to do it. It pains me to no end, but it's easy for your mother to educate you. It's much more difficult for you to educate your mother. I've been trying. Things have been getting better. Kinda. We also launched nearly 30 new products while protecting the integrity of the Tango Square. The Tango Square. But there's some things you cannot say. More of that in a little bit. Became the first app to show counter foraging on profiles and mounted defenses against AI bots. Gonna be honest. The counter foraging mechanism here, huge. Absolutely fucking huge. Way better than community notes. Oh, look at this retards saying absolute fucking nonsense. Is this bait? Yes, it is bait. How do you know? India, Pakistan, or any shithole in Africa, and they have the blue tick. Because for them, getting the interaction money is a lot of money, because those places are shitholes with ass economies. Are things gonna get better? You can only hope. I'm not quite sure yet. Oh, I guess that's something that's been cut with my blocking element. Well, we have Alex Jones here on the side. I hope you don't mind. America's for everyone. This account is based in India. Oh, but these men are so evil. Oh my god, I'm sick of this. This is why we need feminism. Bangladesh, god fucking damn it. Oh, you know, I was going to Walmart and this and that happened. Origin, Nigeria. Shouldn't have Walmarts in Nigeria, Belle. Literally just engagement farming. I'm sick of this. Those are the biggest accounts too. Horrifying. Not trying to be racist or anything, despite me loving racing. Nah, not really, it's just a joke, right? But since we allow those people into the internet, everything was the shit. Especially social media, because they can monetize it. It's just like cryptocurrencies, but with insane posts on my Twitter machine. I like it. Certainly much more work to be done, but our foundation is stronger than ever. Now this would have been impossible without the incredible team here. The next leaders will take eggs to even greater heights with Benji Taylor. Head of design, okay, that makes sense. On design, okay. Sing hi. On core product engineering, yes, another Indian. And Dinkin Flicka? What is this name, dude? Jonah Katz, this guy. I've seen the image of this guy. On mobile engineering, among many other great people. Thank you to Ilong and the Yanks team for welcoming me into the company. See you on the timeline. I'm trying to be racist, I'm succeeding at it. It's so easy. It's so easy. There are many things that seem like racism, but they're actually not. It's, I would say, actually far more complex than that. But it's a completely different animal, I guess. A different conversation, maybe for 40 minutes into the future, kinda. Not trying to notice too much here, but I do believe it's kind of funny that you have Nikita Beer, and then you have this guy here, Lincoln Flicker, this Jonah Cats kind of guy. I understand they're Jewish. How have you seen their noses? They're crazy, dude. I've seen big noses, but they are gigantic. Is this anti-Semitism? I don't think it is, right? You can have a big nose without being a Jew, but wow, those images go kind of hard. Why is this relevant? Well, there's a post, or there was a post, that was kinda odd. But yeah, there's more nuance to what's going on. Oh, for sure. I would say that there's a big difference between racism and colorism. And racism is mostly just about culture, which I think is fair. You should be able to criticize different cultures. And trying to combine different cultures in a single one is usually a poor idea. More of that in a little bit. We'll get to that. We have here this post, massive grain of salt, mind you, from Negan_11. My friend died angst and Elon communicated falsifying user data and far humor was like LMFAO. Elon made the decision within 15 minutes. He was escorted from the building this morning and security is backing up his office right now. The video he posted was created for an internal review last week before the SpaceX quarterly earnings, which I don't know what this video is. I haven't seen it. During this interview, Elon's bullshit meter was stripped and he called for an internal review by SpaceX executives. Not announced the Middle Eastern people is for through sandstorms last they heard. That would make sense. That's odd, but I mean, I can see the evolutionary advantage. Not what I was thinking in the beginning, but yeah, mainly the kind of the amounts of hands they can, you know. Do not give them cocaine. You're gonna run out. You're going broke. When they presented him with the findings, he was arraigned and slagged. Executive staff who immediately shuttered Beer's email and nested him from the building. According to my sources, Nikita presented numbers, quote, 4 to 5 times over actual, including daily and mostly active users. I wouldn't think this is the case, necessarily. There might be some overstatements about the number of users on the website, but I think it's pretty obvious. It has been increasing. I'm not a lawyer or anything, but I would have to assume this is something that the FCC will be looking into. If SpaceX ever presented those false numbers to investors, there's some serious stuff, especially right after an IPO. Oh, maybe they're talking about the stock valuation for SpaceX. I don't think Nikita Beer has anything to do with his SpaceX, though. I thought it wasn't really interesting. I don't know if this is true. I'm gonna say it probably isn't. But the game has been suspended. It's not been more than, what, 3 days? They suspended Negan_11 account after revealing Nikita Beer's suspected Israeli asset was fired by Elon. A community not saying otherwise. Some people are saying this guy has actually been suspended because of the some sort of post that was the flock cameras. I haven't gone through those yet. Apparently it's a system of AI surveillance, which I'm not also a big fan of that. But I've seen a lot of mentions of that, but not really articles, so I'm kinda holding onto it for now. It's still a massive grain of salt. Of course, they can't suspend it, so we cannot check the polls, so who the fuck knows? But I think it's interesting to know, at least. What do we have here? Oh yeah. They have been changing some stuff here on Twitter. They also added a big article. I'm not gonna read this. I don't really care enough. I wonder how connected Flock is to Palantir. Probably too much. Flock and Palantir connections. Let's give it a quick search here. What about the PA from Google? There's no direct corporate or technical integration between Flock Safety and Palantir. The both face overlapping public backlash and proposes scrutiny regarding law enforcement data sharing. That makes sense. So officially nothing, I suppose, but who knows about the hidden pacts? They mentioned they're changing the monetization completely. They have now an original content rewards program, which is probably for the best if this is implemented properly. Because one of the biggest problems of, I guess, current, because I think it's still available, monetization on X, formerly Twitter, there's the fact that you could just keep sending trash into the Thunderdome, and it kinda works. And sick of always seeing the same posts. That's social media nowadays. You know, internet culture is dead when you haven't seen proper memes in about a decade. Excuse me. I don't really know how this works. I don't really know how the changes are gonna come in. I guess it's kinda funny to mention you have to live in a country where the original Content Rewards program is available. I do hope they crack down on this just tsunami of trash coming from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nigeria, and other similar countries, because it makes the site almost unusable. I guess I could recommend... Oh, well, there's 500 verified followers. I think that's probably new. I can still recommend people to use that extension we mentioned, I think it was 2 weeks ago, that lets you hide people by their country of origin. Which, at this point, I cannot say it's actually a bad idea. Will things be for the best? I don't know. People are very skeptical about new head honchos, I suppose, working for the same things Nikita Beer did. All the time will tell. Gonna be honest, not really impressed. You can always hope for the best, but really expect nothing. We're gonna keep moving into more, I guess, content creation kind of stuff, as we usually do in the beginning. We have a couple of... Well, not really a couple. We have a very strange post here, which is a grim reminder of things are not as you wish they were. So you have to work around how things actually are. A very odd post here from Ricky Berwick. Some 15-year-old in a major YouTuber's Discord server has been pinging me non-stop and annoying the fuck out of me. When I complained, a mod replied, 15 is an underage, dummy. Forget the kid for a second. Why is someone modding a major YouTuber's Discord server confidently claiming that a 15-year-old isn't a minor? That's wild. Well, it wouldn't be a Discord mod if the guy didn't say something like this, right? Oh, ho, ho, ho. Yikes. Well, sounds like a Discord mod. Pretty accurate, pretty apt, I will say. I don't really have a Discord server of my own, and I'm gonna be honest, I do not wish to have it at this point in time. I know it's pretty useful to communicate with fans in an easier way than other social media, and you can have some events like actual watch-alongs without actually risking, let's say, your actual channels, right? Oh, this is copyright. Well, who cares, right? Maybe it's a reveal of what country they're from. Well, I guess that's also a possibility. That's also a possibility. I'm gonna be honest. Every single time I see stuff coming from Discord or from different servers about content creation, it's always a fucking disaster. It's very difficult to actually know if the users you have there are minors or not. On one hand, I don't think minors should be on the internet at large, in general. Especially nowadays. It was easier when I was a kid, which is kinda funny when you think about it. It's far more difficult nowadays because you have far more people. Having far more people means you have more evil people. So having just an 18 plus Discord, despite not showing anything explicit, is pretty complex. They're trying to push for more laws that, oh, okay, it's on the internet, you have to self-identify yourself. Also, I don't want that one because why would I want to show my ID to actually watch anime, for example? I don't think I have that tab, but I can bring that up when it's relevant. I thought Texas was cool. What happened? But there's clearly a big problem here. The grouping allegations in Discord are just completely wild. And every single time I see somebody with the Discord, and the Discord refuses to be 18 plus, I know that's just a ticking bomb. It's a massive explosion waiting to happen. There's nothing you can do, really. I know some people mention sometimes these things about, what about having spaces for kids on the internet? I think that's a great sentiment, but that's also that it can be clearly exploited a lot. And what about Roblox? Roblox is clearly for little kids. It's also known for pedophilia, so yeah, not ideal. Not ideal, clearly. If they're smart enough to lie, they said that they're gonna see weird shit. Parents should be holding their kids, should be guiding their kids, not anyone else. That is true, I agree to that. I tend to loop that a lot, every single time kind of a new law or similar things happen with the self-ID. Oh, but what about the kids? What about your kids? Are you stupid? God, it's so disgusting. And it kind of pains me to no end, because this would make more sense if the parents were pretty old. The boomer generation, right? But the boomers are not having kids. The boomers are having grandkids. The ones that are having kids now? Millennials. How are my people so cocked? Well, I've been on the internet for the past 12 years. I should know. But they should understand more about the internet. You should know there are dangers there. It's insane how my mother, so many years ago, almost 20 years ago, when we were getting into the internet for the first time, she was telling me, be careful, you don't know who's out there. There could be evil people, there could be bad people. Do not give your information out. Right now, oh yeah, this is my full legal name, this is my face, and this is my address. What are you doing? You don't actually need to... Your Google taking your data. You're just giving it away for free. It's horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. And something I also see, sadly a lot, especially here on Twitter, and this is just a PvP server, as some people call it, right? People are just fighting all the time. Ah, you're a fucking idiot, you're a retard, and slur slinging, which obviously I cannot do here for legal reasons. And you have the usual defense. How would you try to defend yourself with something like that? Why are you coming for me? I am a minor. Congratulations, you're gonna get groomed. I'm clapping, I don't know if the mic is picking that up. It usually doesn't. Why would you say something like that? Ah, please, I'm 14, don't groom me. Oh yeah. That's just a sign, not a cop, man. It's not gonna work. Sometimes wonder if they're actually trying to get groomed, which... Jeez, I don't want to think about the mental state of these people. Not great, clearly. I learned to accept that the majority of the human race were down for a long time. I have to, but it is still shocking. I've realized it was a strange catharsis the other day. Was it last week? Might have been last week on Saturday, but I'm not sure. I keep complaining about these people, not because I think they're evil, which, to be fair, I do, but their most grave thing is they're insanely incompetent. These commies, these politicians, whatever. How can you be so incompetent when it's so easy to propagandize people? I guess I should be thankful. If there is a sign of God here, I say as an atheist, I should call myself an agnostic. But I don't think I lack knowledge. It's just I don't agree with most religions. If there's a sign of God here, a sign of God's grace, of God's generosity, is that evil people happen to be fucking retards, and I wouldn't want it any other way, because if they were half as smart as they think they are, we would be fighting for 1,000 years. Pat on the back. We did it, guys. Jesus Christ. Anyway, if you can avoid it, just don't have a Discord. It's also kind of annoying because a lot of things that should be on forums are just on Discord servers now. Do you want to have my mod? Join the Discord. What if the Discord collapses, as they tend to do? Well, last media. It's a little bit annoying. Let's move on to something different about content creation. We're gonna get into the meat and potatoes very soon. I think I have to be stupid to think it's a good idea to be an asshole to a level where someone would call you evil. But you could be still conniving, right? You could be clever, which I believe has a somewhat of an evil connotation. Maybe not evil, but clearly you're not a nice person. You could be using people without being like, look at me, I'm the worst person alive. There's something in between. Then again, I'm not the guy comparing myself to Hitler and losing the comparison. Hey, that was a bad thing to say now with this strange segue. What about Hanson and Piker? Jeez, speaking of evil people. It's just a lack of wisdom for sure. I guess that is true. I guess that is probably true. We have here a post by Tecton. Talking about Hanson Piker, you know it's gonna be good. Oh, it's not happening, guys. I promise it's not happening. All Hassan Clip has resurfaced. We want more immigrants to come to your countries, and then you're gonna find your sisters, and then your daughters. We're here to destroy the white race, bitch. This guy calls himself white. He is Turkish. Make of that what you will. To Twitch, spoiler alert. Just banned that Mongol, but we're gonna ban the guy that wants illegals to rape our families. Don't believe the text.
We're gonna keep bringing in immigrants into this country on purpose, just so they can fuck your sister, and then maybe even your daughter. We're gonna destroy the white race, bitch. That's what we're here to do.
But it's not happening, they tell you. It's not happening, they tell you. At this point in time, we all understand. This guy is never gonna get banned. He is too much of a... Nepo baby? Is Nepo baby correct in this context? It's not entirely incorrect. But he is Twitch's golden boy for a reason. So, whoops. Spoiler alert. Yeah, Asmongold has been banned again. Twitch commentator Asmongold has been banned from Twitch while reacting to the migrant cases in Syria. He accused migrants of using children as emotional blackmail to avoid being turned away, before arguing that migrants crossing illegally should be met with lethal force as a deterrent to future crossings. I do believe the guy mentioned lethal force against women and children, just quoting and they're promoting it for legal reasons. It's never ending. It's never ending. We all know that platforms like Twitch are insanely biased. Some people can say whatever the fuck they want, some people can do whatever the fuck they want. I do remember when that E-Whore, I don't remember her name, they all look the same to me, I'm sorry. She had some guys in gimp suits and she was shocking them with the shock collar. But God forbid you want protect the borders and shit in your country, huh? Well, not your country, a country. It could be your country, I suppose. At the end of the day, Twitch doesn't really have rules. It's just who do they like? And clearly they like Hassan Piker a lot. We know this because they say it themselves. We have the Gunner-in-Chief, Dan Clancy, saying, oh, we love Hassan Piker, I watch him all the time. He's also a massive Gunner. I've shown the clip before a couple of times. He was scrolling through his timeline. Horse. Not horses, not the animal. Sluts. Horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. Yeah, the Gunner-in-Chief now wanders almost the campsite nowadays. Landmines and artillery screaming from the mountain tops. So most of the US, we came close. It was pretty bad. I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, you think this is bad? What happened here in Spain? Yeah, this was kind of happening in the US for almost 4 years, thanks to the Biden blast. Not good. Then you get them out and you're the bad guy. Doesn't matter if you're Spanish or American in this case. But I don't think I have some sort of not red peel, not black peel, more like a transparent peel for this bang. I've seen people saying things along the lines of Asmongold is main tanking when talking about culture war, current events, kind of things. I don't think it's wrong. He is big, so he attracts a lot of aggro. Much more than anybody else, for obvious reasons. But I don't think this is also a weapon used against other people. This bang is not about Asmongold. Because I don't think Asmongold is gonna get permabanned, because the guy is also very big. He actually probably makes money for the platform. He tried not to for the longest time, but they had to cut him a deal, sadly. It's not about Asmongold. It's about you and me. It's about smaller content creators. It's about the normal people that probably think the same thing or similar things. But now, oh, Asmongold got banned. He's not gonna get permabanned because he's big, but you might because you're actually small. They're using him as an example for smaller content creators. I don't think it's going to work at the end of the day, because the more vocal people will say whatever they want. Kinda on YouTube, but other places like Rumble. I'm not on Rumble. I don't think I want to be on Rumble, but I might consider at some point if things keep getting this hectic. I wouldn't want to fall for the tricks. They can just mass report you and get you suspended anyway. And you know what I say? Yes, I want protected borders. Yes, lethal force is really useful. It's better than the people are ignoring the obvious context of the clear invasion into Spain. I know. Of course, they will strip the context anyway, because it's very useful. It's very useful to ignore the context. I'm not saying to kill women and kids. I never said that. Will I ever said that? Well, saying and thinking are completely different. However, when we're talking about, in this case, something as brutal as warfare, because this is actual warfare, we need to be reasonable. Reasonable in the sense of we need to understand the expectations and we need to understand the consequences. If you let 70,000 people in and you don't do anything, it will happen again. If you get people in and you just kick them out and you use unlimited force against them, it won't happen again. If you let, in this case, an enemy nation use kids or use women as shields, they're weaponizing your morality. If you don't punch the table and do something about it, it will happen again, and it will keep happening more and more, because it has been shown as a useful strat. Morality doesn't exist, especially in warfare. It's just about winning. I don't think Spain is winning, really. Then bring kids to an invasion. Why not? It's really useful. You wouldn't want to kill a kid, right? But the kid might kill you. I'm not saying it's the case here, but you start to understand why some unsavory places actually use soldier kids. Yeah, maybe that's why you wouldn't want to kill a kid. So there isn't your morality against you, which is something that happens a lot. You don't need to respect your morality for your enemies, because that's a weak point. This is not just about warfare, this is about everything related to culture war. The aftermath of this invasion has been hilarious in a very bad way. Well, the borders are protected. The government established border controls on travelers coming from Italy. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think Italy is actually trying to invade you. Not with infinite Africans. What a stupid thing to do. Think again, if they want to protect the border, they would do it, but they don't. because the government's just a bunch of kikukags. The Spanish government in this case. I don't think the Italian government is much better. It's somewhat better. But it's not as good as they tell you. Oh, we have to crack down the immigration problem. Things are still worse in Italy than in Spain. Despite Melania's campaign being mainly about anti-immigration. What about Lampedusa? Nobody was trying to close down the borders for Italy because of that. You don't have any friends. You just have enemies, and others that will backstab you. Oh. Wow. I don't the government is on your side, but that's nothing. The Sterlings are anything your dudes, but that is robbing through and getting your base. Shit, man, I haven't really played StarCraft. I know what shirking is, but I can only understand given the context. It's clearly not good. There's also been some other things. I don't think I have tabs for literally everything. No, this is just a bunch of articles. I don't think they're in English. I mean, abc.es. Yeah, probably gonna happen. Random source of neural creators. Okay, I guess I get it. I guess I get it now. Some things they will tell you, this is not happening, it's actually happening. I've seen a lot of Spaniards being insanely mad about this, which, you know what, I think is more than reasonable. You know, this is not the Schengen space, everything is fine. They just kind of get to mainland Europe. However, there are 1,100 kids. They're actually gonna send back, not send back. I wish they would send them back, but no. They're sending them to mainland Spain because they're kids. And now you have to wonder, one of the first arguments the Spanish government used was human traffickers. And sure, we all understand in shitholes just like this, human trafficking is far too common. But if you're taking 1,100 kids, instead of returning them to the parents, you're putting them into your country? Isn't that also human trafficking? That's very strange. I would understand if you want to keep them in specific locations in these autonomous cities, to keep them somewhat protected, and then you send them back when you can. Because we can all understand they're kids, it's not their fault, especially when you have Moroccans in trucks just getting the kids into the trucks and sending them to the border, despite the parents being against it. I just don't think they're good people in this situation. I guess the citizens of these cities, it's not their fault. Italy is the country away from Spain. Like, come on, man. I know. But worry not, guys. Worry not. Despite all of the situations, despite Spain being invaded and saying, you know what, it's actually your fault, we're being invaded. We had to pay 25 million euros to Morocco. Everything is fixed. Everything is fixed. Thanks to the Goy Ball. I mean, the soccer game. Portugal and Spain intend to spell Morocco as host of their 2030 World Cup. Both countries claim a lack of security and respect over Europe. Only now? Only now. Okay, it's better late than never, I suppose. But if you investigate a little bit, this World Cup situation for 2030, it's just fucking hilarious. Because originally, as far as I understand it, it was going to be just Portugal and Spain, which makes sense, right? They're just literally next to each other. You can see the warm Spanish embrace on the back of Portugal. I don't know, sounds a little bit homoerotic. I mean, it's Europe, it's probably fine, right? Everything in Europe's just a little bit gay. If you wanted to add another country, you would think, okay, France will make sense. It's just right there. Italy will make sense, right? I would say there's a lot of overlap between the Iberian countries and Italy. I would say Italian, Spanish, and Portuguese are closer to each other than French. French is just a disaster of a language. I'm sorry, it makes no sense. Biggest clown language I've ever seen in my life. And of course, Italy also loves the soccer ball, right? Which will make sense. Morocco. Apparently it was pushed by Spain's prime minister for some godforsaken reason. I was seeing some Moroccan ethno-nationalists that they don't live in Morocco because why would they? I want to live in France, I want to live in Canada, I want to live in Belgium, I want to live in the Netherlands. Never making Morocco great again. Saying, but you know what? If Spain wants to have the final match, they should have such a big stadium like we do. And they show you the new stadium they made. Bigger than the two biggest stadiums in Spain, allegedly. And you're like, yeah, but the funny thing is, they did. That big stadium in Morocco, it was paid by Spain. 1 billion euros. Billion with a B. Wow. Imagine if you were to invest all of that money into your own country. Whoa. What a concept, Jesus. Why do you keep paying for people that want to invade you? They are pretty upfront about it. Yes, we want to take Ceuta and Melilla, we want to take the Canary Islands. We're actually taking Western Sahara, and we want to take Al-Andalus back too. And then you look at history. Oh, but they have these claims, okay? They have these claims. And you look at what they say about history. But if you go back to the 700s, yeah, but the history didn't start in the 700s, not in the Mediterranean. If you go back in time to the Roman Empire, or even before that, oh wow, yeah, Morocco's kind of a joke. It's a country history-wise, and if anything, this is actually a good argument for Spain to take the full land of Morocco. Is it gonna happen? I don't think so. I wouldn't want these genetic freaks in a European country. Horrifying. I think it's okay if the different parts of the world cut each other off for a while, and the certain ones cut their bullshit. Yes. We've been told in this line that everybody is equal, everybody is the same, everybody is good. I wouldn't admit that yes, we are all humans. But some people have incompatible cultures. For legal reasons, I can't say some cultures might be better or worse than others. That's a big no-no. Speaking of Asmongold, he got banned before for saying something like that. I will also say it's hilarious when you see AI clips. My feed on Twitter has been inundated with Spanish posts, which I guess makes sense. This was the big news last week, so of course the algorithms still feeding me the stuff. These people are very creative in how they express themselves. I find that to be pretty funny. I've seen I thought it was kinda corny, but it was interesting in a different way. The Iron Ham clip. I don't have it on tab. It was nothing Iron Man parody. It was a gigantic hog made of steel. Kinda seemed to me like the big ram they used against Minas Tirith in the Lord of the Rings movies, if that makes any sense. It was just running around shooting different ham products against these Muslims. And this is gonna sound so wrong, but it just feels so good. You know it was AI, because you would see these Moroccans, and they looked okay. They looked somewhat reasonable. You would think, wow, they're just like Spaniards, but darker. When in reality, when you actually look at the clips, if you've seen the Nick Shirley video, for example, which I do recommend, it seemed to be pretty interesting. The guy got almost stabbed. Thankfully that didn't happen. You would see that they all just look dysgenic. What incest does to a motherfucker, I don't think incest is good, mind you. If the cultures can get along, they need to leave each other alone. Yes. But Islam doesn't want to leave you alone. It wants to conquer you. That's the problem. If you as a Westerner just want to be left alone, they're gonna eat your ass. You have to stand firm and say, come here and we'll fuck you up, boy. You need to be aggressive, because you're actually playing with your life and your civilization to the greater extent. speaking of Twitter, speaking of Muslims, I do find it hilarious. I don't know when to say this, so I guess this here makes sense. I do find it absolutely fucking hilarious when you have these obviously Muslim people from different locations in Africa, Pakistan, so on and so forth, bitching about fiction, bitching about sometimes even cheaper reviews. Oh, did you know this guy is actually a pedophile? He was dating an 18-year-old. Wow. Well, I guess we can agree to something here. Yes, 18-year-olds are fucking idiots. But no, they tend to bitch a lot about fiction. But this lolicon stuff is really dangerous. Look at these people. Did you find this 16-year-old attractive? I mentioned, God, this was, what, 2 years ago at this point? There used to be, probably still around somewhere, an article talking about quote-unquote pedophilia and being attracted to 16-year-olds. The thesis was pretty much, look, 16-year-olds nowadays are very well-formed, much more than 30 years ago. You're not a pedophile if you think a young girl with a big ass and big tits is attractive, clearly not. Of course do not fuck a 16-year-old, right? But don't think you're a monster. It's just because of the hormones of the food, potentially. Completely different issue. They will more understand when they're the first pedophiles. It's insane. And I don't say this lightly. I'm saying this, oh, I just don't like these people. No, they're quite literally pedophiles. Spoiler alert. After the invasion, 5 girls are being treated at the city hospital with signs of rape. Given what they mention here in the title, I think they're little girls, not just young women, but actual kids. Which makes sense when you see the religion, and... Oh, but... Muhammad didn't fuck a 6-year-old. Yeah, you're right. They only got married when Aisha was 6. They fucked, and she got pregnant when she was 9. And they tried to more understand, but Virgin Mary was 14. 14 was much more reasonable for the age period. Of course, if it happened nowadays, that would be a big no-no, but it was 2000 years ago, it's not the same. It's still far older than what you people say. Saying faster than others doesn't mean they're still dumb teams. For sure, but in this case, it clearly means that, yeah, it's fine, right? Wide hips, big ass, and big tits. That's not the sign of a kid. But then again, do not fuck the 16-year-old, okay? Especially if you're an old guy. If you're 18, it's probably fine, right? If you're 18, it's probably fine. But, yeah, don't create a rob, as they say. It's fine. I wouldn't want to get along with somebody that young, just even if he was 21 years old, right? I find young people to be very annoying. I can barely stand people my age. And that's a completely different issue, I suppose. Muslims more understanding about pedophilia when this happens all the fucking time. We don't have to bring up again the Rupert Lotus here, right? We talked about that a couple of times. 250,000 girls being raped by immigrants in the last 50 years. And I don't think that's actually lowball. I think it's actually way higher than that. I've seen other numbers, and if you take into account both men and women, it's about 700,000 people. But they will tell you it doesn't happen. People don't think about the actual relationship in a relationship. That's leading to a lot of problems we have nowadays. They aren't sending the best. I know. I was actually talking about this in passing with my mother the other day. I don't remember the context. I don't remember the context. We were talking about relationship and stuff. I don't know. We were just jumping around 13 different topics. Oh, I think it's about how things are so extreme in younger people. Back in the day, you could have differences of opinion, and it will be okay, it will be normal, it will be reasonable, and you would move on. But right now, there's a huge schism, thanks to politics and to society, who the fuck knows. But there's a big schism. You're either starkly to one side, or you're starkly to the other side. If you're in the middle, you will be assigned a team. Congratulations, you have been drafted for the culture war. I hope you enjoyed your team. So nowadays, it's far more difficult to have some different opinions when getting into a relationship, because everything was just normie stuff before. It was, okay, it's one side, the other side, who the fuck cares? We're just trying to live our lives. Now everything is extremely politicized, and starts getting literally everywhere. It's not something you can ignore, really, but that's not to discredit something that has been happening for also quite some time. It actually predates the current gender wars, I suppose, which would be, and I guess the comparison I make is actually really apt. I didn't make this up. Sadly, it's not the me original. You get into a fight with your girl and you have to break up. Being the same logic as, well, a light bulb broke in your home, so you need to buy a new house now. No, you should try to work things, right? But everything is so transitional too, about that. We love sometimes the relationship thing. I don't think we have anything for that today, but it's dire. It's a dire situation. I'm seeing a lot of posts recently on social media, and whew, it's not good, man. It's not good. I always knew I would have a lot of trouble trying to get with a woman, not because of my extremist ideas that came after, but because I know I'm a very strange guy. I'm rather unique, and the usual nerds for me seem like normies. I'm how did they say this? I'm 2 standard deviations away from the norm. But with everything that's happening right now, it seems just impossible. Not a situation of, oh, woe is me, but I understand the problems. That's what I'm trying to say. Jesus Christ, it's so hot! I'm sweating like a pig, dude. Do pigs sweat? I actually have no idea. They probably don't. Did academics as much as I can, but even then, it's rather politically divided, more than many will admit. Academics actually can't affect. As you get into the universes, the universities, not the universes, what am I saying? Universities and how they work. Yeah. Yeah, shit is kind of wild. Oh, but there's a huge slant for this political wing. Yeah, the other guys are not allowed. Yeah, that doesn't seem great to me, but hey. At least now we understand what's actually happening. It's also stepping back a little bit into the relationship stuff. It is kind of insane when you say the modern state of relationships. You will see mid women, and not saying this is negative, I'm saying this is normal women, going for the 1% of men, and kind of works because, you know, social media, dating apps and whatnot, and just new age harems, which, yeah, that's not gonna make a great society. I guess they're nothing to through Muslim friends, you know. Oh. Nah, great. As they have here. Oh yeah. A couple more things about Morocco in a way. This is also a Spanish article. After the immigrants who receive the minimum vital income, with I do believe it has to be UBI, right? Universal Basic Income, minimum vital income. I think it's pretty much the same. Are Moroccan. It's the main issue here is not that half of the immigrants happen to be Moroccan. Why do you have immigrants sucking up the UBI? Yeah, no, that shouldn't be happening. That shouldn't be happening. But then again, wow, I see engineers, I see scientists, I see doctors, I see lawyers, I see architects. Yeah, I see architects. Architects of destruction. That thing's gonna work well, pal. And we also have this one here. Based? French bank and telemarketing calls could hit 50,000 Moroccan jobs. A French bank and nuisance telemarketing calls could cost 50,000 jobs in Morocco. From August 11th, firms making unsolicited phone calls to French consumers could pay fines of up to 75,000 euros a call. Morocco's absorbs call center industry, built on cheap francophone labor with relatively weak unions. Makes 80% of its revenue from phone and French customers. Provides employment. Minister warned that 50,000 out of 120,000 jobs are at risk. Well, it couldn't be more poetic if we tried. Hilarious nonetheless. I guess Morocco's just African India in a way. It's not English, it's French. It was actually a French colony, not the Spanish one, apparently. Odd. I have no issue with someone moving over here to work the 7-Eleven as long as they aren't asking for more benefits than someone who's being born here. I'm not against immigration, necessarily, but I do believe it would be a lie. We know, we've seen this way too many times. Immigration has been weaponized. Too much. Sure, you can have people from outside working the 7-Eleven. Why wouldn't you want somebody from the country? I bet you have unemployed people that could be working there and get some money. It's not gonna be huge. It's not gonna be insane. But shit, you get to work. You get to at least try, right? And the problem is not that they're bringing people from outside. It's how they're bringing people from outside. Because if you look at how these things work, it's H-1B visas all the way down. They tell you, it's to get these people for these actually specialized jobs. No, it's a fucking 7-Eleven. It's quite literally a 7-Eleven. But they use these tricks of, well, the job offer should be public, and a certain amount of time should go by before you can actually consider getting an H-1B. What do they do? Well, the job offer is in public. Well, it's not really in public, right? If it's in the break room of the establishment, people are not gonna see that one. In websites, they're usually extremely hidden. And that's a big problem, because that's a lot of fraud. That's the main issue. Nobody cares that you have immigrants, especially not in the US, right? People wonder mainly, okay, are you here sucking the teeth of the system? Are you actually here to work and provide? Think of simulation and Spain, that's all I ask, but apparently that's too much to ask. Yes. Yes, I think we can agree to that at the very least, for sure. I think I'm gonna take off a layer because I'm actually absolutely fucking drenched. Give me a second, please. I'm back. It's like actually. How was this? Was it this? Oh! Dookie, layer here. Biblically accurate. Jeez, why am I so hot today? I had you doing shockwave. Talking about current events today. Be careful. Something that kind of pisses me off about the immigration talk is that it's always very unbelievable countries, right? Sure, you can have people from whatever, with potentially whatever job, but it's happened to a friend of mine. He was doing a internship in a tech company recently, earlier this year, and I was like, okay, sure, why? If this is a tech company, as you're doing data analysis and whatnot. Why do you have Nigerians? Why do you have Indians? It's very odd. It's just odd. What makes sense, you have people from Scandinavia, for example, right? Because they're usually pretty cracked with these things, but no. I mean, it was the 10th remote yesterday. I hope you're healing, because that's usually kinda rough. I still have all of them. I will need to take them out at some point, so that's kinda scary. Because if the bottom left gets empty, they will need to open my jaw. Oh, that's very, very scary. What do we have here? What do we have here? Let's see. I don't know what to put this either. I guess here makes sense. We're talking about stupid things and Muslim things to some extent. So, what about this? News. It has been revealed that the UK government used British taxpayer money to fund the Muslim gay version of Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Hamed. Ah, hell yeah, brother. Back Morocco. What is there thing to do? I don't think Muslims really like gay people, so this might actually be extremely based on red pill from them. It's the UK government, so clearly it isn't, but I thought that was very strange and kinda funny. Satire used to be satire, it's not anymore, it isn't. When I saw this, for a second I had to stop myself. Because I was thinking, the end has already happened? Only kinda, right? The new, or latest, Romeo and Juliet adaptation. I want to... Was it the movie or was it theater? I don't remember. They had this very ugly black chick. I'm not saying she was ugly because she was black, but she was extremely ugly, on top of being black. That was something that happened. Well, at least Romeo's pretty, I guess. Death and Juliet happens to be handsome, but okay. Let me take a big sip of water here. That's dehydrated as I expected, despite sweating so much. Lama, what? Okay, hold up. Romeo, Romeo. Wherefore art thou, Romeo? And it's by Hamed. Dear Romeo was cast off the tallest tower in the lands, for his love is ram, and thou art next. That seems accurate to me. That seems accurate to me. Okay, moving on. I guess it's actually finally time to talk about the milk. What is happening with the milk? Well, people that know the news know that this is a reference to Blizzard and the breast milk. But be careful. Wherefore art thou? In the butt. It just works, it just makes sense. Those insane accusations against Blizzard with the breast milk, the actual sexual abuse and whatnot. Maybe it's actually not real. Imagine that. Game journalists dying. Oh jeez, lying. Friday asleep, I guess. Game journalists lying, more likely than you think. This is actually kinda long. So we're gonna be here for a while. But I don't really know too much about what's going on with Jason Schreier, aside from him being an absolute lunatic. But the Blizzard lawsuit appears to be moving forward. So funny. Jason Schreier was set in California's 2021 Blizzard lawsuit. California sued Activision Blizzard in July 2021. They gave him press through the complaint as an explosive government intervention into the industry. They have supposedly failed to police itself. This they had conducted a lengthy investigation, found cause, and finally brought the weight of California government against one of the largest video game companies in the world. Journalists, in turn, reported what the government alleged, but there's competing detail buried in the original complaint. The government was citing the journalists. Modding age journalism in a nutshell. That's absolutely fucking bonkers. This is what they do. They start to decide each other, and they can just turn a lie into reality, quote unquote reality, because they're reputable sources, but they just source each other. This whole thing was going on during a time where Blizzard was making garbage and their new CEO was an absolute psychopath. Oh yeah, for sure. I'm not trying to say that everything was fine in Blizzard. The games were ass, okay? 2021, Blizzard has been together for quite some time. I don't remember, it was about this year when I first heard of Asmongold. Because, even the biggest WoW streamer, Asmongold, is starting to play Final Fantasy XIV. That doesn't mean the complaints make sense necessarily. Everybody here could be actually evil. Everything can be true at once. Jason Schreier, one of the most influential video game journalists in the world. Wow. You know shit is horrified with these sentence we have to read. And later the author of Play Nice, The Rise, Fall, in Future of Blizzard Entertainment, appears in the footnotes of California's Regional Department of Fair Employment and has a complaint against Activision Blizzard. Footnote 5 says Schreier's August 2020 Bloomberg reporting, Blizzard workers shared salaries in revolt over pay. In support of the complaints and I'm choking reading along today. Please understand. Schreier's article reported that Blizzard employees have begun circulating a spreadsheet comparing salaries and recent raises amid growing employee dissatisfaction over compensation, which I think is fair, but there could be infinite caveats, right, with different situations. Could be just down to actually negotiating the contract. It's kinda hilarious, we have this AI recreation here, Jason Schreier being sworn in, satirical illustration, not a photograph. But from there to say, geez, they were stealing breast milk, they were literally groping the women, that sounds like a smut. Okay, I don't think that's real. I still haven't played StarCraft 2 in a while. I'm scared to. The new pages I hear about sound like an intro cranked up and typed up some bullshit. Oh, sorry to hear that. I'm not a WoW player. I played for about a month and a half in a private server. I was about to say many years ago. It's been years. I wouldn't say it's been an insane amount of time. It was, what, 2018 maybe? I never got into it. But I've seen the evolution. Everything is getting worse. It's hilarious when you have one of the higher ups. Was it director? I think it was head of product. Saying shit like, geez, man, but the name Warcraft is so scary. Why do you think it's called Warcraft? It's not a random name, by the way. The name happens for a reason. There are actually 3 Warcraft games. There are RTSs. And you fight with your units. But it's so violent. Okay, alright, whatever. You have the toning down of several characters. You have some girl bosses in WoW too. And probably the most hilarious of them all, to me, will always be the wheelchair. Look, this is one of the strongest mages in the lore. He broke his leg or his spine, something like that, so he cannot walk anymore. What does he do? He summons a wheelchair. But the modern style wheelchair, why? If you're a mage, sure, okay, alright, I'm going to send you one to be seated. Why aren't you flying around in a throne? It would make more sense. Why not have a cool mount, like a dragon? I don't know. It's too much to ask. But what about my diversity? And my representation? It's a fucking game, dude. If you're worrying about that, yeah, no wonder we have several tabs about layoffs in video games. They're coming up, I promise. Discovery comes at an unusually consequential moment. Schreier's reporting on the Activision Blizzard scandal has come under renewed scrutiny in recent days, prompting him to return publicly to the controversy and defend his account of what happened inside Blizzard. On August 5th, Schreier published a new video titled The Truth Behind Sexual Harassment at Blizzard, reopening a battle over the historical record that many assumed had been settled years ago. Footnote. Yeah, they're quoting his article. Represent the nuts about that. I look like this and I say this. God, my singular crusade against representation and accessibility in video games is a long one for sure. Mainly because people don't know what they're talking about. We'll look into that at some point again for sure. It happens a lot. Has it happened in a while? The one about accessibility. It's a favorite topic of mine. Everything overlooked detail in California's original 2021 complaint nearly relevant. Trey was not only merely one of the journalists who later reported on the state's allegations, his earlier recent reporting had already entered the lawsuit itself. Oh, my. Could this be potentially a legal problem for him? I'm not quite sure, because I don't think he's being accused of anything, but it's not a good look. Games journalist lying. Happens all the fucking time. I think anyone in a wheelchair is playing a fantasy game to be a guy in a wheelchair. Absolutely not, right? And this is actually shown. This already happened. In... Shit, I always mix 1 and 2. Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. Pretty sure it was Advance 1 on the GPA. Which kind of thing is a guy. You have the younger brother of the main character, which is bedridden. It is heavily implied he cannot move his legs. And then they're just isekai into evil is. And of course, main character marches trying to get everybody back to go back to the human world. But he finds his younger brother. And his younger brother is so happy because he can just run around and go exploring and be an adventurer. Because he's not bound by his disability. Nobody wants to be in a wheelchair. It's a bad part of reality. Accidents happen. Illnesses happen. Mistakes happen. And sure, it's better to be in a wheelchair than just being bedridden. But it's not something nice. People that are in wheelchairs don't want to be in wheelchairs. So clearly they're feeding from lunatics that rejoice about their different disabilities. We all know the types. The meme of the guy pointing at the screen. The same, you know the types here. Trey was not alone. Before California gets deep into the particularized allegations produced by its investigation, the complaint series. The complete sites reporting from The Atlantic and the New York Times, Rock Paper Shotgun, The Verge, GamesRadar, and Bloomberg. The opening page established a much broader proposition. Sexism had allegedly plagued the video game industry for decades. Women remained underrepresented, leadership was overwhelmingly male, composition disparities persisted, and Activision Blizzard existed within this larger systemic problem. Okay, let us take everything here at face value. Sexism was plaguing the gaming industry. If that was the case, why would women want to work there? You're being abused, and you're being underpaid. According to what they say. Seems like a bad business idea to me. Maybe, and only maybe, something like that was not happening? I remember when games were made by and for nerds. I was just California appeal and I hate this. That matters because the game's press did not merely report the state's argument after California filed its lawsuit. The press had been developing much of the argument for years. Reality comes at you very fast, Jason, me boy. It's not men's fault, women don't know a good video game, but they say one. Ooh, scathing. That's entirely wrong. I guess it's also a massive problem at large, right? It's not just about video games, but it's also encompasses video games. It's just nerd entertainment has been co-opted by the worst people ever. Commies and annoying women. These annoying women tend to be commies too, I suppose. And they're just trying to rewrite history here. It's insane to me. But video games, they're actually saying this. It would be really stupid if they did. Uh, Video games are also for women. I remember back in the day. Now women liked video games. Almost no women like video games. That would be more correct. And not a lot of guys actually like video games either. It would be called very big names. Very big names. If you enjoyed video games back in the day, they would bully you for that too. It's also hilarious how they're trying to latch themselves into other nerd hobbies like TTRPGs. I've seen recently a tweet, I didn't save it. I thought it was way too stupid and we didn't need to talk about it. So I'm just mentioning it in passing. Other school TTRPG fans complaining how the hobby nowadays, especially D&D because it's massive in comparison to the other ones, has just been co-opted by quote-unquote theater kids. We all know what theater kid means, right? It's this feminized individual, not solely physically but mentally, that's trying to get attention from everybody, usually extremely liberal, usually West Coast USA, but not necessarily. This is factually true. And you have some people saying, oh, imagine believing something like TTRPGs was not always meant for theater kids. Well, we know it's not the case, because the theater kids getting into TTRPGs is new. Did you know that D&D is actually 50 years old? I think it's 52 right now. It was played... D&D was made by a Christian white dude. Not a theater kid. It's wargaming painted with a quote of Lord of the Rings and fantasy in general. It was never meant for the flowery kids. It was for the giga nerds. Make no mistake about it. I made a dwarf paladin of the sacred oath of throwing it back, and I have a Holy Avenger +1, and I'm gonna fight the Demon Lord. Do you really think that's not insanely nerdy? I'm sick of this. I'm sick of the hobbies going mainstream. I'm sick of these normies. Must mean gamers. I just screaming at Call of Duty. Must mean gamers. I just playing Candy Crush in the bathroom. True unreal. True and fucking real. Also, women love MMOs apparently. The ones that play actual big games and not just put fruits together. But that's not to say that there's not a big schism here too, right? The normie and the actual passionate fan, nothing to do with each other. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of these people who go out doing everything. Oh, look at them, they're so gay. They're gay now, because even the people working at the company are extremely gay. Have you seen... Speaking of Dungeons & Dragons, I think it's the easiest one, right? If you see the new book, the 2024 rulebook, absolute ass. I've shown the images here before when it's released. Hilariously wrong. Oh, look at everybody's just so fruity, so flowery, so androgynous. Look at the gay dwarves. Look at the Mexican orcs. That was not the case when they released 5th edition in 2014. I wonder what happened. Well, even if you look at the other versions, yeah, it's far more violent, but as it should be. It's meant to be a war game, not a I'm gonna treat my mental illness kinda game. I've seen those types, I'm not really impressed. And this whole onset of Blizzard might have being exploited with gays. People are saying that. Actually, people are saying that. And, well, I guess they mentioned the in bro culture here. So I guess this next paragraph is gonna be really enlightening. The persecution before the prosecution. By 2021, a significant part of games journalism had moved far beyond reviewing games, interviewing developers, and reporting company news. An entire reporting ecosystem had developed on their own labor, representation, sexism, harassment, discrimination, diversity, and workplace culture. every single time we read anything that mentions, oh, they changed what they were reporting about, I had to always mention this. It's gotta be pretty old at this point, right? I don't think there's a short clip of it, and it's a big of a shame. Tim Paul explaining this. I'm a big old tree! There is a Timcast episode where Tim Paul was explaining this. How in the early to mid 2010s, internet journalism was shifting from actually reporting actual news into this insanity culture bullshit. Because they will say, if we talk about sexism, we get more clicks. If we talk about racism, we get more clicks. If we keep talking about these quote-unquote sensitive issues, we get more clicks. And if we combine several, we get even more clicks. It was a snowballing effect. It was just rage bait. But we have been rage baited into the current situation. Not a big fan of these journalists for sure. Taken together, their stories increasingly constructed. It fueled the video game industry itself. The industry had a sexism problem, a bro culture problem. Women were marginalized. Even if you believe this, it's actually self-inflicted. Growing up, even by middle school in my case, finding people that played video games was not that common. Getting women that played, I guess in this case, girls, that played video games was pretty uncommon. I managed to form some sort of a couple of nerd clusters through my middle school. Not really big. Some people were kinda normie too, but it was okay. Who was the company who was celebrating George Floyd with Afro-Hero assets? I can't remember. Was it Ubisoft? I don't remember that. Let's see. Company celebrates George Floyd with Afro assets. I know that allegedly. Oh Jesus Christ, Google, why are you so fucking obnoxious now? I know that allegedly Ubisoft changed a bunch of stuff of Assassin's Creed Black Samurai, just so the guy would resemble George Floyd more. Let's see. Might have been. Legends. Other investment. No idea. No idea. I can't find anything here. I guess I'm going to ask Rock, and we'll see the response in a little bit. Okay. Was there a company that celebrated George Floyd using Afro assets? We'll see a little bit. Doesn't take too long for the round, but still. Even back in the day, gaming was not that obscure when I was in middle school. It was not as geeky and mainstream as it will be about 5 to 7 years after, thanks to esports, the explosion of esports, mainly because of fucking League of Legends, and social media, especially YouTube. MMOs were a thing already, okay? We were all playing MMOs, at least in my circles. But still. Then she was insufficiently diverse. This is not a thing. Diversity of leadership is not a thing. Oh, it's just a bunch of men, who cares? Are they good? Yeah, cool. You got the best people. Who the fuck cares? They're just a bunch of insane white males. Okay, and it's fine. Composition systems produce disparities, and corporate cultures protect the powerful men. I mean, sure, I'm willing to believe this one because it happens in all of the... in any part of the business anyway. The alleged problems were presented not merely as individual failures, but as systemic ones. Story after story, therefore, became another exhibit in what amounted to a continued persecution of the industry in the court of public opinion. By the time California arrived, much of the intellectual architecture was already standing. Your diversity is insufficient. It's such a creepy statement. It's very strange. Ah, you don't have enough black people. I'm not thinking about people being black, dude. Okay, Greg is not telling me here anything very relevant, so it may have been an individual instead of a company. Can't find really anything that has to do with Afro-assets or anything that's similar. I guess the closest would be historical black hair care companies such as Johnson Products, Afro-Chic and related brands, which long predated Floyd and focus on natural/Afro hairstyles as cultural products rather than any post-2020 tribute. So I guess the story was not quite like that, which, I'm gonna be honest, it makes more sense to me. Thankfully. The guy already had a golden casket anyway. No need for more. And giving golden casket to a fat addict. Ho! US, baby! US! And that's kind of insane, but it literally happened. I remember the images. Read the opening of the FEH complaint carefully, and the similarity becomes striking. Sexism has plagued the male-dominated gaming industry for decades. The complaint announces near its beginning. It subsequently characterizes Activision Blizzard as maintaining a pervasive frat boy workplace culture that allegedly became a breeding ground for harassment and discrimination against women. Okay, frat boy culture is not a thing here, but I'm gonna say something maybe controversial. Even if this was the case, I don't think the company would be insanely misogynistic. They would just be a bunch of dude bros, and that's fine. Dudes being dudes, not dudes being pests. These statements do more than describe particular employment disputes. They established an interpretive framework through which the reader is invited to understand everything that follows. And so the supporting material comes directly from the press. Many such cases. The state brought the lawsuit, but much of the argument had already been included in the press. Oh! Gamergate! 12 years later, their legacy lingers on. Nothing has changed, nothing has gotten better. Jesus Christ. I've seen the recent Woke 1.0 shoe head video. It was hilarious. It was fucking hilarious. That was true Woke 1.0 back in Gamergate, which it actually predates me a little bit. I was not looking at current events during Gamergate. I joined just literally at the end of the big explosion, when everything became more politicized, at least here. And then we had Orange Bang and all that. Gamergate never really ended. It didn't. It actually didn't. And if you think for a second that gamers won't Gamergate, you're wrong. Once again, this showing head video is just hilarious, because you can see, wow, 12 years, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Oh, I don't like this, I don't like this, change this. I actually don't enjoy this game, but you have to change it too. This woman doesn't look like me, change it. Literally the same that's happening right now. I would say it right now, it's actually even worse. I'd say it right now, it's actually even more pervasive. Because it's not just you have to change this female character. Everything needs to be a woman, everything needs to be gay, everything needs to be retarded. They change the translations, and worst of all, they go to Japan and then make them censor themselves during game creation. Hey, has anybody seen the real trailer for Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave? Type A and Type B. Oh, there are bigger problems. There are bigger problems. I agree. But Type A and Type B is an obvious breach of containment. If they get into that, shit is gonna go south extremely fast. I was surprised when we watched the first video of what was the name of the game? Blue Protocol. I was about to roll my eyes and say, body type. It was actual body type. It was not male and female. It was, oh, thing normal and chunky. Wow. Interesting. Finally, a body type selection that makes sense. But no. But why can't they see the chest of Type 2? Because Type 2 is female. I love that meme. There's still concourse not to buy and watch fail. Oh, you know it, baby. You know it. I say this all the time. You're the customer. You're number one. I love quoting myself. You're the customer. You're number one. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what people say. We'll get into that later, because it's more relevant for the ones of Halo, for example. But if you see something in a product that you don't like, you don't have to buy it. And whatever reason it is, it's fair, because it's your fucking money. Oh, but if you don't support these products, they will fail and the industry will collapse. Good. Why would I want the gaming industry? It's not going to give me what I want. It's my money. I will spend it as I see fit. What an insane thing to say nowadays. Then again, another admission, these people are literally communists. They think they can have your money for free, but no. You have to understand, you have a little bit of game in your propaganda. Not good. This was also kind of the case with the Odyssey, right? But it's not that bad. It's only just a little bit woke. There's only just a little bit of piss in the soup. No, you have to take a stand, and a strong stand. You cannot flip-flop, dude. If you want things to be better, you have to be selfish. And being selfish about your hobbies and your resources, it's normal. What are you gonna do? Impoverish yourself? Because, the industry? Fuck them. Fuck them. I have infinite all games still to play. I will be fine. It's only trouble sign, and it's only gonna kill you a little bit. It's only a little bit of AIDS. What's the big deal? It's only a little bit of poop in your letters. I don't think I have an update for that one, but I've seen some stuff recently about the poop letters. Funny enough, poop letters actually worse than food letters, but nobody's saying that. Much to think about. Gamergate and the Journalist collusion question. This relationship becomes more interesting when placed within the institutional history of games journalism itself. One of the central disputes surrounding Gamergate in 2014 concerned journalistic ethics and the degree to which supposedly competing games journalists constituted an interconnected professional and ideological class. Ooh, very accurate. At least the evolution, interconnected professional and ideological class. As to say, it got co-opted. Kinda, maybe. Previously, the journalists were communicating privately, reinforcing common narratives, protecting favorable interpretations of controversial events, and sometimes behaving less like independent competitors than participants in a common cultural project. There was something about fucking people, literally, to get better reviews. Misogyny, women abuse, they keep using their body as a weapon. It's not my fault. I didn't tell them to do it. I wish they didn't do it, even. For themselves. But then again, as long as it's useful, they will keep using it. The discovery of Game Journals Pros, a private mail list connecting journalists from numerous games and technology publications, became important to the controversy precisely because it demonstrated that cross-outlet communication was real. Journalists discussed their stories, controversies, professional disputes, and the media's handling of unfolding events. The existence of the list did not establish every claim made about games journalism during Gamergate, nor did everyone participating in it agree with everyone else, which, I mean, it makes sense, right? How's it gonna how? I mean, having a social media. But it established something narrow and important. Games journalism was a highly networked professional ecosystem whose members could discuss the same events privately while covering those events publicly. I wonder if behind all of this is perhaps the idea that they were losing their foot ground in the cultural zeitgeist. Because why would you read what a game journalist has to say in 2014 when you have YouTube. It's far more common nowadays for sure. Now, right now, oh look, a game review is the video. Now it's an actual games journalist. Trash. But that means these game journalists were never trustworthy, if that's the case, right? Well, I mean, by thinking about Gamergate, I think it's pretty obvious. As Australia's name appears amongst the journalists identified as members of Game Journal Pros, nothing has changed. And account material attributed to the list records his participation in discussions. And history matters here because 7 years later, reporting by one of the journalists associated with the network would appear in the footnotes of California's lawsuit against Activision Blizzard. Something that's usually understated when we talk about Gamergate in general. I'm not quite sure about the in-game journal pros list, because I haven't seen it myself. Is that the same people still active nowadays and still fucking everything up. Only recently we saw Anita Sarkeesian, the Demon of Babylon, talking to, who was it? Neil Druckmann? Or wanted to talk to Neil Druckmann? Don't remember the name of the company. Because she wanted to be some sort of consulting job for the upcoming game. You want to have some consulting here so everything is fine and smooth. Yeah? With Anita Sarkeesian? I guess you want to crash and burn your own company. Oh. Anita Sarkeesian. Then you wonder why she married herself. That was very strange. You were like, well, you know, people are lonely, you shouldn't be like that. It is my understanding she had a boyfriend when she did that. Imagine getting cucked. Like that. Your girlfriend is cucking your own girlfriend. Huh! That's so odd. That's so odd. Well, these people are not mentally well anyway, so I guess that makes sense. Not require a theory of secret coordination between journalists and the state. The more interesting question is how professional consensus is manufactured and transmitted. And at WordPress Corps does not require marching orders to develop shared assumptions. Prolonged professional interaction can produce common vocabulary, common sources, common priorities, common definitions of what constitutes a scandal, and eventually common interpretations of the institutions being covered. That's your social media. I think that's reasonable to say. By 2021, California was entering an information environment that games journalists had spent years constructing. Oh, it's not happening. Oh, we won Gamergate. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. Instead of actually fixing the industry, they went undercover and they kept fucking everything up. To a degree we probably don't even know. That's probably the scariest part of them all. From journalist to government footnote. Shire had already developed a substantial reporting portfolio around labor and workplace conditions in the video game industry, where he published his 2020 Blizzard compensation reporting. His Bloomberg coverage described employees sharing salary information, satisfaction following internal compensation review, workers discussing workplace demands in company Slack channels, and broader tensions surrounding wages and executive compensation. Which, okay, seems within the realm of normalcy if this is actually happening. When you bring in insane statements about breast milk, highway robbery, and just a serial robber, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's very difficult to believe. California subsequently decided the reporting in its complaint. Then California sued Activision Blizzard, and Schreier became one of the most visible journalists covering what followed: the allegations, employee reaction, Activision Blizzard response, the employee walkout, leadership turmoil, and the continuing crisis surrounding the company. His July 30th Bloomberg newsletter, for example, centering the employee walkout and described the industry as still reeling from California's lawsuit. The resulting chronology deserves attention. A journalist investigates Blizzard and publishes reporting about workplace conditions at Blizzard. California consumes and cites that reporting while constructing its complaint. Trying to be a little too fast, I know that's a mistake. But this is pretty long and we have more stuff to cover, that's why. independent news Activision Blizzard, and the journalist extensively reports on the lawsuit and the employee movement surrounding it. Years later, the same journalist publishes one of the major historical accounts of Blizzard, with the 2021 lawsuit occupying a pivotal place in that history. This is in general a reminder, in my opinion, that journalists should be held to a higher standard. It's not that they cannot make mistakes, it's fair if they make mistakes. But actual mistakes. Just because you're a journalist, that doesn't mean you should be just out there lying about whatever the fuck you want, trying to push a narrative. That's not what a journalist is. That's nothing more than a propagandist. Bad man. So, if that's the case, if they were pushing a narrative that's not real, they should suffer legal consequences. If they made a mistake, they should retract what they said and give a formal apology, and I would be okay with that. Now this establishes a good coordination, it demonstrates something more visible and institutionally interesting. The person documenting the institution, the government investigating the institution, employees challenging the institution, and the historical record eventually written about the institution were not operating inside completely separate information systems. They overlapped. Journalists should be held up in a spite bias. Well, speaking of bias, they're also not good. So maybe it also makes sense. I do remember, and just this all the time, not just with video games, it's just endless. Journalists back in the day, they were actually people that were trying to find the truth of something. They were more often than not putting their lives on the line, especially when we're investigating criminal syndicates or even war. Nowadays, it's just a bunch of fucking lunatics pushing propaganda. Nothing worse than a journalist nowadays, I'm afraid. When the reporter becomes part of the ecosystem, isn't that literally a conflict of interest? I think it is. But reporters necessarily develop sources. Investigative journalism will be nearly impossible otherwise. But prolonging meshing in a relatively small professional ecosystem creates another possibility. The reporter can gradually become socially embedded in the community he is supposed to observe. Ah, yes. The Stockholm Syndrome, in a sense. Developers become sources, sources become acquaintances, and acquaintances can become friends. Those relationships generate additional sources and increasingly intimate access to internal conversations. The reporter learns the vocabulary of particular factions, understands their grievances, follows their disputes, and develops relationships with people affected by layoffs, management decisions, lawsuits, union campaigns, and workplace controversies. The informational advantage can be enormous, but so can the potential for social capture, which I think is fair, but it also means the journalist is not good enough. You're like a spy, you need to understand you should be in arm's reach away from them, at the very least. Not to become completely captured here. They have here in a blog, I don't know if this is a quote or something else. Shy has increasingly spoken publicly about friends throughout the video game industry when discussing events affecting developers. That being said, that doesn't mean they're actually friends. You would want them to think of you as a friend, so they will give you more information. But I don't think Jason Schreier is a good example of a great journalist anyway. So I'm probably wrong. There's nothing inherently improper about journalists having friends in an industry they cover, but the existence of those relationships matters when evaluating proximity. The journalist is no longer simply observing the industry from outside. He knows people inside it, sometimes personally, while reporting conflicts in which those in professional communities have enormous stakes. This becomes particularly important when journalism increasingly concerns disputes between factions inside the industry, rather than simply the products the industry creates. A reporter covering layoffs may personally know people losing their jobs. I think this is happening a lot nowadays because of the insane amount of layoffs, but I do think they're deserved. Main bad game that doesn't sell? Yeah, you're getting fired. The video game industry is not different in that regard. A report investigating workplace allegations may know employees involved in the controversy. Also, on top of that, be labeled whamming. A journalist covering an employee uprising may have spent years cultivating sources among the employees themselves. At some point, the traditional distinction between covering a professional community and belonging socially to the community deserves examination. Can it proximity capture? It need not involve money or explicit coordination. Social identification can be sufficient to influence which grimaces receive attention. Yeah, I guess that's also pretty likely. I would say social identification with this industry more likely than being about money. Which also appears trustworthy, which controversies seem important, and which institutional outcome appears desirable. These journalists don't have a good method of investigation. Nothing new. Journalism or advocacy. That's where the transformation of games journalism after 2014 deserves greater scrutiny. A conventional beat reporter probably asked what asked what happened, but activist journalism introduced additional questions. Which systemic problem does it demonstrate? Who possesses institutional power? Who is being harmed? What must change? Well, there's something that has to change. My nose. I need to blow my nose. Give me a second. It will happen again. I'm feeling really stuffy today, I don't know why. It's pretty annoying. Ew. I'm in a really weird position here. Too sweaty to actually put me back against the the chair, I'm afraid. Part of questions will become the organizing framework of a beat. Individual stores can cease functioning as discrete events and instead become evidence supporting a continuing institutional diagnosis. A workplace dispute becomes evidence of systemic discrimination. A compensation dispute becomes evidence of structural inequality. A good job becomes evidence of cultural pathology. A personnel within A, I believe, controversy, it could be within A, depends, becomes evidence of institutional failure. Now, if this necessarily makes the underlying facts false, the issues that selection, emphasis, and interpretation become directional. Enough stories accumulated under the same framework eventually create something resembling a case file. By the time California filed its lawsuit against Activision Blizzard, much of that case file already existed. But I do believe it's just mostly journalists bitching about. I don't think it's actually that real, that factual in this specific case. Once again, absolutely captured. When Schreier became the advocate, Schreier's public commentary makes this distinction considerably easier to see. In August 2021, amid the Activision Blizzard upheaval, he reacted to a photograph of a new game studio whose visual staff appear overwhelmingly white, and made by writing, "It's pretty wild that in 2021, a new game studio still looks like this." Dude, I'm not looking for black people, I'm not looking for women people, I'm not looking for those shallow categories. I'm looking for skilled people. If the skilled people happen to be white guys, who cares? They're useful. God forbid they're making an actual good game. Back in the day, I used to have a podcast that was just the dudes. It was good. Then we added a woman. It was exponentially better. There's a different perspective to improve your product. In other words, anyone who responds with all that matters is game quality is getting blocked. What a fool! This guy's a game journalist? This guy is a clown! What? Do we have to believe that women just have different ideas because they're women? Or different opinions just because they're women? The same with black people? The same with Latinos? The same with, I don't know, Indians? What a stupid thing to say! What a racist piece of crap! That's insane to me. The significance of the remark becomes clearer from what Schreier wrote next. He argued that adding a woman to his podcast has made it exponentially better, declared that different perspectives improve your product, and announced that anyone responding that all matters is game quality would be blocked. Well, I guess At the end of the day, we were actually right? The only thing that truly matters is the game quality. He was not reporting industry debates. Trent was participating in it. More importantly, he was articulating a theory of game development. Demographic diversity produces better creative products, while the visible demographic homogeneity of a development studio is itself something worthy of criticism. Not even. He didn't even say that, because his argument was not about demographic diversity will make a better product. If that was the case, he would agree with what people were saying about the game quality. But he did not. Propagandists. Madmen. And position becomes particularly relevant when placed beside California's own framing. The DFEH complaint specifically emphasized that Activision Blizzard's top leadership is also exclusively male and white. Who the fuck cares? Trent did not write the sentence, and I have found no evidence that he supplied that particular argument to California. They don't need to, it's California! They're commies already. What matters is the intellectual alignment. The journalist covering the lawsuit was publicly articulating, at essentially the same historical moment, a demographic theory of institutional health is strictly compatible with part of the state's own framing. Her historical posting X no longer publicly visible through his profile because he logged it down, this piece of shit. Oh, don't look at me! Don't look at me! Wake! Wake, pathetic. His account is currently protected and states that he is no longer on Twitter. What a fucking liar. Arcade Campus therefore provides an important documentary record of positions he publicly expressed during the 2021 Activision Blizzard controversy. It's from Grumps. X is the platform of truth. Some people just can't handle the truth. They're wrong. Some people make money selling lies. X is the flashlight that reveals all roaches. And this is actually pretty accurate, because he was using all of the situation to sell books. Want you buy my book? Nah, I'm fine. Jeez, dude, this is so fucking long. We're gonna be here forever. We're gonna be here forever. But it's fine. It's long, but I think this is important. Ethan Gatch and the workplace culture beat. Each enshrined was only along in this transformation. Ethan Gatch at Kotaku became another important reporter covering political and cultural conflicts surrounding the video game business, including workplace controversies, employee activism, labor disputes, and allegations of sexism and discrimination. Other Kotaku writers, which we know Kotaku is just absolute ass, like Stephen W., Patricia Hernandez, Alyssa Mercante. Ooh, that's a name. Nathan Grayson. That name sounds familiar to me too. Cecilia D'Anastasio and Ash Parrish were also in the same bit. More propagandists, clearly. The intensity of the specialization is visible simply by examining Gatch's output during the week following the California lawsuit. Kotaku's archive shows articles about the lawsuit fallout and how and what women had allegedly been saying all along. J. Allen Bryan's response to sexual harassment allegations, Mike Morhaim's apology to women, the Activision Blizzard employee letter, allegations that men had also experienced sexual harassment, and eventually the infamous Cosby suit story, all within a matter of days. Okay, was there misconduct in the company? Yeah, probably. I think it's more than possible that was the case. Are the very explosive stories about breast milk and whatnot real? I don't think so. I don't think so. That's very difficult to believe. That would be something very insane. Far too insane to actually believe it. I do believe there's some sort of actual case here. That's why they're in actual lawsuit, instead of being completely dismissed. But I don't think it's as insane as people say. The point here is not to relitigate those individual articles. It is to recognize the emergence of a specialized journalistic function. By 2021, the gaming press contained reporters whose continuous subject was no longer primarily games as creative works. Their bit was increasingly the institutions and people making those games, internal workplace politics, employee grievances, labor organization, cultural disputes, corporate behavior, and religious social pathologies, which is a repeat of what we were saying already, I guess. Consequently, when the DFEH lawsuit appeared, these journalists were not approaching Activision Blizzard as an unfamiliar institution. They already possessed sources, institutional history, and an interpretive framework through which the lawsuit could immediately be understood. The lawsuit did not introduce the press to the theory about sexism inside the video game industry. The press had been developing that theory for years. You have to wonder if they were actually waiting for something like this to happen. Create the narrative so you have an actual lawsuit happening. I would say that's possible. I don't know if it's likely. I don't know these people enough. The state enters the story already in progress. The exchanges at the opening pages of the DFEH complaint should be read. California conducted its own investigation, interviewed witnesses, and processed employment information unavailable to journalists. The particular allegations produced by that investigation must ultimately stand for or fall according to the underlying evidence. But the broader cultural argument surrounding those allegations did not originate in an intellectual vacuum. The complaint itself demonstrates that the state was consuming journalism about the industry. Which, I guess it's somewhat fair, because you would want to know more about the industry, but it was already poisoned. Trades literally in the footnotes alongside numerous other media organizations. The boundary between media narrative and government narrative therefore becomes considerably more complicated than the subsequent coverage suggested. The press had spent years constructing an indictment of the industry, the state the inside parts of that press, while constructing its own pleading. As California acted, journalists reported the government's allegations back to the public, carrying the additional authority of an official state enforcement action. This is the central mechanism of the story. The feedback loop. I think that's probably gonna be an interesting part in... I assume similar to what we already mentioned about how they just source each other and they try to turn a lie into a truth, therefore crafting a narrative. Happens far too much, I'm afraid. The conventional model imagines a relatively clean sequence in which government investigators discover misconduct, government attorneys file lawsuits, journalists report the allegations, and the public learns what investigators found. Activision Blizzard reveals a considerably more complicated information flow. Journalists have already been investigating the industry, publishing allegations, developing institutional diagnoses, and building relationships with employees and other sources. Government investigators operated within that existing information environment and, as the original complaint demonstrates, sometimes decided to result in journalism. Whoops. Now you may be legally liable. Well. Once California filed suit, journalists reported the government's allegations. Employees publicly responded, reporters covered those responses, other outlets repeated the reporting, and social media amplified the entire process. Media, government, media. It's just a positive feedback loop, as they call it in nuclear sciences. This is where the cycle becomes important. A proposition originating in journalism can become supporting context in a government document. The government document then becomes the basis for subsequent journalism and carrying the authority of the state action. These subsequent stories can eventually be encountered as apparently independent confirmation that the original diagnosis was correct, even though some of the information shares common ancestry. Oh brother, incest information? Wow! Similar to what happened to AI, I guess, in a sense. The media did not merely cover the persecution. It had helped create the intellectual environment in which the persecution became legible, which, once again, conflict of interest. Not legally speaking necessarily, but business-wise, at least. Oh, hold up, let me see if I can crack my back a little bit, maybe. No, I don't think so. It's fine. Something cracked a little bit. It's probably better now. Recursive authority. Oh boy. That's a useful name for this phenomenon. Recursive authority. A claim begins in journalism and enters an authoritative institution. The institution confers additional legitimacy upon it, after which journalism reports the institution's action. Search engines, reference works, subsequent journalists, commentators, and eventually historians encounter numerous sources, apparently pointing toward the same conclusion. Even though some of those sources descend from the same informational ancestors, that's why it's very important to source everything. If you deal with news, even if you're just reading them normally, and you find something very strange, you need to see the source. And you need to see if the source is actually a believable source. Which in many cases it actually isn't. I guess in this case, if the source is games journalist, to the trash. Completely. No need to keep thinking about it. And if you start seeing recursive quotes and sourcing, you know that's nuclear. Absolutely nuclear. The volume of corroboration can therefore become greater than the independence of the underlying information. Imagine counterintuiting articles that appear to establish the same proposition. Article 9 cites Article 4. Article 4 relies upon a government complaint. The government complaint cites Article 1. The researcher appears to have encountered multiple independent confirmations, where reality part of the evidentiary tree circles back upon itself. It's just like the Habsburg family tree, but with information, which is actually even worse. Although, no, I don't scan age, you know. I'm still so fucking sweaty, dude. This problem becomes particularly important during rapidly developing institutional crimes because journalists, employees, activists, social media networks, corporations, and government agencies are simultaneously producing and consuming information. The historical record is not assembled years later by detached historians after the evidence has settled. It has been constructed in real time by people participating in the events, reporting the events, organizing around the events, and attempting to influence their outcomes. Once the record becomes sufficiently dense, challenging one of its foundational assumptions becomes extraordinarily difficult because the researcher encounters the same proposition everywhere. Okay, I think it's gonna be better. Change my position in my chair a little bit. The activist reporter as institutional actor. Oh jeez, look at the image here. That's what a real journalist looks like. Believable woman, no male gaze, smash the patriarchy, fat acceptance. Women need daycare? Well, hey, alright, this guy is correct. But it doesn't mean what you think it means. What about the daycare jobs? This is why the distinction between reporting and activist matters. Journalists possess enormous institutional power, precisely because journalism is ordinarily understood as observation rather than participation. Not anymore. Not anymore. It's been close to 15 years since this was the case. And you need to understand the new paradigm. You need to understand that what's going on now, the current metagame for this, has nothing to do with it should be and what it used to be. Journalists select which allegations deserve an investigation, which anonymous sources deserve amplification, which controversies have sustained attention, which facts belong in headlines, and which events should be interpreted as examples of broader systemic problems. Those editorial decisions help construct the informational environment in which everyone else operates. Employees read those stories, executives read them, investors read them, politicians read them, government investigators read them, and, as the Activision Blizzard complaint demonstrates, government attorneys can cite them. Which, I mean, it's fair because it's public information, so of course you can cite it, but... it's dangerous. It's potentially dangerous. At that point, game journalism is no longer merely describing the industry. It has become one of the forces acting upon it. The distinction is important because an institution that exercises power deserves scrutiny proportional to that power, particularly when its own reporting can migrate into government documents and later return to the public carrying the imprimatur of governmental authority. But you also have to understand that the government is not as useful as you think it is. They're not as smart as you think they are, which is still disappointing, but at least now you know. Craig has built much of his career around holding game studios, executives, and industry institutions accountable. This is a legitimate journalistic function, but accountability runs in both directions. A journalist whose reporting can shape reputations, corporate decisions, public understanding, and even appear in government proceedings cannot personally replace his own assumptions, advocacy, sourcing, and influence beyond examination. That's what they want. They want to be the masters of reality. Make no mistake about it. They want to shape society. The problem is, you're still just a guy. And your guy's lying, and now there's a lawsuit. Jason Schreier has spent years holding the video game industry accountable. There's nothing improper about holding Jason Schreier accountable for how he covered it. True and real, the little cockroach is running away though. Conclusion. The prosecution was already underway. There were serious allegations on California's Activision Blizzard complaint, and those allegations deserve to be examined under evidence. Whether institutions have framed, amplified, and ultimately historicized those allegations deserve examination too. For years, game journalists have been building a case against the culture of the video game industry. What a strange thing to say. So, why is the culture bad? Why would you turn yourself into games journalist if you're just gonna be trying to headbutt the existing culture? It's so odd. It's actually an admission that this guy is just a propagandist. By the way, we knew, but now you know too. Isn't that nice? They developed sources, accumulated allegations, established recurring explanatory frameworks, and increasingly treated workplace politics as one of the central stories of gaming itself. Who the fuck cares? What about the games though? They don't know anything about those, sadly. Gamergate's journalist collusion, controversy, and exposure of game journal bros. Bros, not bros. No, I mixed both sounds there. Had already revealed how interconnected the press corps could be. By 2021, reporters such as Jason Schreier and Ethan Koch occupied specialized positions inside an information ecosystem, be it from the internal politics and workplace culture in the industry they covered. It's done on purpose. They say it themselves. They want to shape culture. They want to change society. These guys might not be the biggest communists ever or anything like that, but that's what they want to do, and that's what they're trying to do. If that wasn't the case, why are they doing this? Putting themselves on the line, actually. They're also not as smart as they think they are, which might not help this situation. Then something remarkable happened. The state of California said to them, Jason Schreier's appearance in the original DFEH complaint is only a footnote, but sometimes a footnote exposes the architecture of an entire story. His reporting did not merely exist alongside the government investigation. California incorporated it into the background framework of its own pleading alongside reporting from some of the most influential media organizations in the country. The games press had been prosecuting the video game industry in the court of public opinion for years. In 2021, California began citing the prosecution's exhibits. Then, the same media ecosystem reported California's lawsuit back to the public as an independent governmental action, validating many of the propositions journalists had spent years advancing. We're also a little bit at fault, because we can't allow this to foster a little bit, because we don't question them. Yeah, it's California, of course there are a bunch of fucking criminals. I don't know, man, I don't know. Are you gonna believe these insane journalists? Are you gonna believe a bunch of fucking bullshit they keep spouting? Absolutely not, right? This won't happen again, I guess. Shit, where was I? Journalism informed government framing. Government action increased the authority of that framing. Journalism that amplified the government action. The result was not a simple line from investigation to lawsuit to reporting, but a feedback loop in which institutions repeatedly conferred authority upon one another. What happened at the other end of the lawsuit is equally revealing. In December 2023, California and Activision Blizzard settled the case. The resolution contained a consequential qualification to the narrative that had dominated coverage since 2021. The settlement stated that no court of independent investigation had substantiated allegations of systemic or widespread sexual harassment at Activision Blizzard. So it may have been just slight misconduct, which is hilarious. It's California, okay? They're just like a dog with a bone when it comes to these things. Category reported the settlement and the qualification. Schreier, despite having covered the lawsuit and followed intensively, appears to have produced comparable contemporaneous reporting on the settlement. He never acknowledged it in plain nice in a footnote. Using extraordinary symmetry here, it's actually very funny. The story began with Jason Schreier in California's footnotes. It ended with one of California's most consequential retreats from the regional public narrative in Jason Schreier's footnotes. And this property matters because journalism exercises power not merely through factual accuracy, but through emphasis. What receives a headline? What becomes a continuing bit? What is repeated for weeks or months? What becomes part of the cultural shorthand surrounding a company or individual? And what, years later, is relegated to a footnote? Those are editorial decisions, and editorial decisions have constructed history. Frey has built much of his career on holding game studios, executives, and institutions accountable. This is a legitimate journalistic function. But accountability cannot operate in only one direction. A journalist whose reporting can influence reputations, corporate decisions, employee movements, public understanding, and even the background framing of a government politically exercises institutional power of its own. That's why these people should be held to a higher standard. You know that you can shape a lot in the industry, therefore, you should be the first guy to be truthful. It's a journal, we're asking too much, I know, but still. Jason Schreier has spent years holding the video game industry accountable. There's nothing improper about holding Jason Schreier accountable for how he covered it. I think we're looping. Is this AI? Was way better than the last AI article if that's the case. That scrutiny is especially warranted now because the historical record surrounding Blizzard is being contested again. The argument is no longer simply over what happened inside Activision Blizzard. It's also over who selected the evidence, who supplied the interpretive framework, who amplified particular allegations, who decided which developments deserve sustained attention, and who ultimately wrote the history through which future readers would understand the company's collapse. The questions therefore stand far beyond one journalist. Who formulated the intellectual framework through which the video game industry came to be understood as systemically broken? Gamergate. To some extent, at least. How much of that framework originated with government investigators, and how much had already been supplied by journalists? Most of it. How dependent on multiple sources when they ultimately descend from the same informational ancestors? And what happens when reporters cease merely documenting an industry and become institutional actors attempting to change it? California filed its lawsuit against Activision Blizzard in July 2021, but the persecution of the video game industry in the court of public opinion had begun years earlier. The difference was that this time, the persecutor had subpoena power. Hey, we have a bunch of videos here. And Depends Gaming, walls with the explosive thumbnails. Lying, gay, Jew. Okay, alright. Thanks to everyone! And the truth behind sexual harassment. Hilarious. Hilarious. That was a huge ass fucking article, dude. That's crazy. I kinda wish it was a little bit more concise. Kind of really blame the guys because I know I'm not as concise as I should be usually. The complaints are coming from inside the house, I suppose. We also have, oh jeez, the Twitter people have been going wild with this. What? That's not a lie. The embarrassment theft, the sexual assault, all fabricated by Schreier to sell a book of lies. I don't believe the stories, but they didn't still do hate Blizzard for the destruction of the IPs, which is more than fair. Here, a crypto mummy. Alright. Looking back, it's incredibly embarrassing that we fell for the Jason Schreier Blizzard propaganda. It's read like a cartoon script. People will not fall again. Absolutely not. People will not fall again for this. Because we are all still nice at the end of the day. None of us would have thought to lie about it. So we assume others wouldn't lie about it. Becomes toxic now that we speak up. But we sure weren't when we believed their lies. It's no longer enough for me to win in the end. Now others must lose. I've been all jobless and never allowed into anything remotely fun. Savvy here's going kinda wild, Jesus. But of course, if we're talking about the gaming industry, right now, we have to mention Halo. Halo Studios hit by layoffs as the campaign evolved launch. Well, I guess it was not a good release. Surprising. About a week after Halo campaign launch public launch, multiple employees have already been announcing they have been laid off from the Xbox game studio developer Halo Studios, formerly known as 343 Industries. This comes after July. Eleni Analytics report showed that Halo CE sold only 900,000 copies on Xbox Series and Windows platforms. Way too many. Still. 425,000 copies on PS5 and 212 copies on Steam. 212,000. I don't think I said 1,000. My bad. With the remake not only selling fewer copies in July than Palworld, Minecraft, and GTA 5 on PS5. GTA 5. That's an old game. Reviews for Halo 3 have notably been mixed across all platforms, and while these layouts haven't been officially tied to the remake's earnings, it wouldn't be surprising if the poor sales and their perception of the remake caused Microsoft to issue layouts for Halo Studios, especially following the layoff of 1,600 employees in early July. On LinkedIn, several Halo Studios employees have begun posting that they were unfortunately laid off from the Halo franchise developer following the launch of Halo Campaign Evolved. These include Paul Morris, who worked as a Scrum Master for Halo Studios starting in 2024, on Halo Infinite and CE, and not only worked as a test associate in Halo 2, 3 ODST, I don't know what it is, Wars, and Halo Reach, earlier on in his career. Nick Trainman, more like Nick Trader, who worked as a playtest coordinator, associate producer, and producer for Halo Studios starting in 2020. Before working as a playtest moderator for the now-defined Monolith Productions in 2016, and as an associate game tester for Nintendo in 2014 and 2015. And also, Caleb Lawrence, who worked as a software engineer on Halo Infinite and CE starting in 2022, before working as an application engineer at HCA Healthcare. I don't know what it is. I mean, healthcare is pretty obvious in the name, but still. It's currently unknown if any other Halo Studios employees have been laid off, but given Microsoft's plan to cut 4,800 jobs by the end of 2027 fiscal year, with 3,200 of which being from Xbox, it wouldn't be surprising to learn if these latest layoffs were a part of Microsoft's job-cutting plan or response to CE Sports sales. Halo Studios has been known to suffer from layoffs before, with multiple people losing their jobs in 2025, and in 2023 as part of Microsoft's seemingly recurring waves of layoffs, with only a few hundred people working at Halo Studios as of summer of 2025. Like, it's not that long. Jeez, I'm a bit scared now. Fuck. The future of Halo Studios. Recently, it was revealed that Halo's next multiplayer project, called Project Ekur, was cancelled due to the CE facing trouble development. But new rumors suggest that Halo Studios' next projects may be a Halo 2 remake, a Halo 3 remake, and a new ODST center game. Wow, more remakes! Aren't you glad? Not really. Not a fan of Halo anyway, but I'm sick of these remakes, man. Give me something new. Given the multiple teasers and campaign evolved, suggesting the production of a Halo 2 remake, the Halo 2 remake may be Halo Studios' next major project. Now, it may not release on PlayStation platforms given the poor sales of both CE and Gears of War Reloaded, as well as the notable absence of Gears of War E-Day coming to PS5. I mean, if it's gonna be detail only, you don't actually waste any money putting that on the PlayStation environment, I don't think. According to Rams Gaming, Halo Studios reportedly mismanaged the development of CE, and it was originally primarily developed by external developers Abstraction and Virtuos under strict, aggressive timeline by HS, Halo Studios I assume, only for HS to end their contract with the two midway through the game's development, causing HS to hastily redo the developers' work before launch. Wow. Yeah, no wonder shit is a fucking disaster. Due to this history, difficulty porting assets into Unreal Engine 5, oh brother. It shouldn't be difficult, it's one of the main selling points of Unreal 5. Very odd. With layoffs and alleged leadership issues, Halo Studios or Microsoft may contract external developers again to develop the Halo 2 remake or even other Halo projects. Alternatively, Halo Studios may solely work on the Halo 2 and the probable Halo 3 remakes themselves due to the issues with working with Abstraction, potentially rushing Halo 2 and 3 remakes that play very similarly to Campaign Evolved with no multiplayer features to coincide with the launch of Project Helix. How are you gonna make a new game? At this rate, never. So of course we have these people here. Remember the Halo producer who hated guns and games that glorified gunplay? he just got laid off. Still hearing people hate the games that you make. It ruins franchises. Why would you do this? I wonder. Ah, okay, it's not two screenshots. So we have PG Skittles. After over 6 years of working on Halo, it's my time to be laid off. Starting as a playtest coordinator and working my way to producer has been one hell of a journey. Time to start the hunt. You can see this guy, this Nick here, displaying his mental issues on his profile. I honestly don't think I could work on a game that glorifies or fantasizes modern guns. Call of Duty, Battlefield, Rainbow Six. I'm assuming that's Rainbow Six. RB 6. All makes sense. I had moments of a struggle with Halo, but the weapons and world is pretty sci-fi, which creates a large enough separation from reality. We have this screenshot here from Endymion. They got what they hired for. We hired people who hated Halo. What a bunch of fucking idiots. I'm gonna be honest, why would you do that? They're not gonna make a good game. The Halo franchise was burdensome in a lot of ways, meeting expectations, for example. But it was great for hiring, O'Connor admits. Many of 343's problems were big, practical, logistical conundrums having to do with growth and recruitment. The studio needed to attract top AAA talent that was in high demand and probably already employed at other AAA studios. All of 343's staff came from AAA. The studio staff now represents over 25 AAA studios. Don't you think that could be potentially the problem? You have the AAA industry right now. They are making games. They are not making good games. But they're making games. The games underperform. The games are bad. And you're thinking, shit, you know what I need? I need those guys. You're retarded. You're fucking retarded. And you need to collapse. It's absolutely necessary for things to actually get fixed. You need new people. You need fresh meat. I guess it's actually Warcraft and not Starcraft. I must call that Spacecraft, don't mind me. 343 actually couldn't tell interviewees that the studio was specifically working on Halo 4, just that the studio was working on something involving Halo. They had people who we hired who hated Halo because of X, says the governor. But what that really meant was, I feel like this game could be awesome because of Y input that I'm going to bring into it. I want to prove it. And I'm passionate about proving it. So we ended up with a bunch of people who were genuinely passionate about the product. It's a huge advantage, and him being hired and forming our team. No, it didn't! No, it fucking didn't! Demonstrably so! You're wrong! Congrats! Now go to hell. We have here tweet from Band. How's your game's haters to develop your game? Your latest game ends up being an abomination hit by your fans and a failure. Oh no! How could this happen? Well, I think it's pretty obvious, right? Was to have this here? Oh, Jesus Christ. God forbid I don't want someone like this making my FPS games. It's the same Nick guy. It's PJ Skittles. Looking at my accounts for the rest of the weekend, God forbid someone has complex thoughts and feelings about working a game with guns after multiple mass shootings. Oh, fuck off, dude. Cry me a fucking table, Linda. Jesus Christ. I was about to say, how much of a raging homosexual can you be? But it's right there. 3 flags. 3 flags out of 3. There's no fixing this guy. And this is in response to lunatics that don't know anything. I guess actually comes from this one. Hilarious. The gaming community may never recover from Gamergate, I fear. Gamer has been infamous for bigot idiots for 20 years, and the gamers who find an offensive response was to become even more far right-wing. Gamer, you fucking idiot, was used for people that played war games. Yeah, those things that predate TTRPGs, those were the gamers. Nowadays, just people I don't like. Jesus fucking Christ, horrifying. But I promise being into uni will not make video games feel how they did when you were 12 again. Anita Sarkeesian did nothing wrong. Anita Sarkeesian didn't do anything correct. A malady to the industry. Still relevant to this day. I promise, it's not bug developers making your life worse. You're just 30-something now, and then have access to the experience of playing Halo 3 and Xbox Live with the boys, DM. For the first time anymore, you're caught up in kayfabe tricking you into believing gamers are oppressed. You know nothing. You know nothing. Sure? Sure, I can give you. There's a special flavor of the experience when playing games with the boys. But that's not what's happening. You can go back, and you can play an old game for the first time. Whatever you want. Anything you consider could be interesting. Play it for the first time. You will see it's good. You will see it's different. You will see, wow, holy shit, hey, these games are actually cohesive, what the fuck? Modern games could never. That will happen every single time. How do I know? Because it happens to me too. That's why I know. What was the latest new old game that I played? I actually don't know. Let me check. I think it's actually been a while. Okay, playlists should be better. Trying to click here. I've already played Symphony of the Night. That's not fair. I also played Bowsphere before. That's not fair. Pokemon XD, I suppose. It was way better than expected. For example. I haven't played new old games in a while, I guess. What about Final Fantasy VI? Jesus Christ, that was a game, dude. That was a game. My god, new Final Fantasy could never. But you understand, the problem is these people are saying, oh, everything is bad because of capitalism. No, it's not capitalism that's making things worse. If it was actual capitalism, that is the true actual free market, products would be better, because in an actual true free market, you need good product to sell product. You need good product to sell. You sell a lot because product is good, you make money. That's how it works. But no, because they keep adding people, they're not actually skilled. Because they get kicks from the government. That's the problem with many industries nowadays, and I'm sick of pretending otherwise. I have this thing here, massive layoffs at Halo, all you Blizzard devs were innocent, comics are getting fired from Bethesda, voters are losing their jobs. And of course they punked it with music, which I guess this is not in proper order, I'm sorry, happened again. I had a lot of stuff for today, and I made a couple of tiny mistakes here. What is the Bethesda thing here? What? Well, we have a tweet here from Hero Hey. Bethesda union members are protesting after being laid off, and it's hilarious how out of touch they are. Oh, we make great games! We make games players love! We make games that define generations! No. No, the company made those games. Before you! What are the new good Bethesda games? Any? What about the Skyrim? Did you know Skyrim's, what, 50 years old at this point? It's so fucking old! And people will tell you it was not as good as, Oblivion. Mind you. Hey, what about the Starfield? I bet the game was good. They're being honest and say, players deserve better. And it's like, where was the energy the entire time that corrupt AAA has been taking advantage of gamers by putting out buggy, overpriced, modern audiences slop? They were radio silent, but now that they got laid off, they're pretending to care about players. And they're right. Players deserve better. Better than you people, for sure. 27 seconds. Alright. Okay. Might be an ordeal, but we can get through this.
Morale is really low because, we've been told that we're making great games that players love.
It's been 5 seconds, and you can already tell that this guy is a massive raging homosexual, just looking how he conducts himself. It's fine if you're gay, but Jesus Christ.
Morale is really low because, we've been told that we're making great games that players love and that we're doing well, and to have this suddenly
we are told, they're lying to you,
hit us has been a huge shock to us.
It sucks.
We make all kinds of games, all kinds of people.
Oh my god, alright, hold up. Let me produce these people here. Okay, that's all. Oh my god, look at this guy! Look at this guy, a literal communist! It's right here. How fucking propagandized do you have to be to have a tattoo of the hammer and sickle on your neck. Horrifying.
shock to us.
Where's there an ending in the middle? She could be Latino. She could be Filipino too, I guess. Brown lady. Bunch of Predators too.
It sucks.
We make all kinds of games all kinds of people love.
It'd be really nice.
Juniper Dowell. Well, alright, whatever. You know exactly what I think about that individual.
If we could just get back to work and make them games that will define a generation of video gaming.
I worked at ZeniMax for about
Nose ring! Nose ring award!
5 years. We are having a march and a rally.
5 years. Oh, I was working there for 5 years. Okay, cool. Who the fuck cares? Did it release anything useful in the 5 thing?
To demand dignity and respect and an end to the cycle of layoffs.
Morale is really low.
That was way funnier than I expected. Holy shit. The gift that keeps on giving. Delicious. Absolutely delicious. Is this what they call shit fight? I guess so. Full coverage on my channel. I don't think I've watched this video. It's probably good. The fact that there are triple game devs, that's nothing anyway, certainly the guys receivable of game company exacts. I mean, I guess that's true, but these people are not. Oh, jeez. Cameron, did you collapse that long ago? Yeah? And now the only one to notice, I say. Thankfully. Thankfully. That's absolutely fucking crazy. But then again, I'm gonna be honest, I think that some players deserve less. Because if we have this thing here, by at game roll, 10,000 likes, 5 million views. This guy was getting ratioed into replies, but the reply disappeared. How curious. There's a quote with 94,000 saying that this guy is just sucking cock, which is actually true and real. Today has shown me that somehow people still do not grasp how big GTA 6 really is. If GTA 6 gameplay had premiered on YouTube, then Rockstar would be doing a service to YouTube. That's how big the release of the game is. We will pay them the same way that Netflix is. It was never going to be marketed and launched like a regular game. GTA 6 is bigger than any boxing event that Netflix has had the rights to. It's bigger than any show or movie that they have ever released. Even Stranger Things and things like that. Of course, Rockstar is going to capitalize on that. Cattle. Absolute fucking cattle. What is happening here? You might wonder. Well, the latest GTA 6 reveal was on Netflix. You filthy animals are paying to watch ads. Make it make sense. Did you hide the reply, you piece of trash? No, okay, right. I guess the original author deleted it. What a shame. You people deserve less. Oh, but GTA is so big. GTA is gonna be massive slobber, dude. Absolute slobber. You haven't seen anything like this before. Let me show you. It's getting worse and worse by the day. GTA 6 countdown. During Take This earnings call, Strauss Zelnick admitted he could have charged even higher for GTA 6 and still don't see numbers due to the hype. Animals. But they chose to focus on delivering more value with 80 USD base price and just 20 USD more for the Ultimate Edition. Offering a phenomenal value at $80 makes sense for some consumers, and then offering incremental value at a modestly increased price $500 also makes sense. Given the hype around this title, I think we could have made any number of other pricing choices. But as I said earlier, our focus is on delivering way more value than what we charge for something. What do we have here? Okay. Standard Edition, $80. Digital Standard Edition, not even physical. Vintage Vice City Pack pre-order bonuses. 55 Rapid Stanley sedan garage. Outfits and hairstyles. Exclusive weapon pattern. Digital pre-order bonus. 3 months of GTA Plus. What do you get if you buy the Ultimate Edition? 25 Karate Cheetah. Og and Little Morgan revolvers. Personalized weapon variants. Vice City style. Jason Safe House vehicles, Gnat Retro Build, Ride out the Castle Small Shop, Stars Insect Salon, Shih Tzu Squallow, Stuck 305 Clothing Store, 6-7 Dappy Dominator Buggy, Stereo Electric Factor 2, 1-8 Wheeler Small Shop, Good Timers Gear, PTT Youngins Compound, Classic Car Collection. I don't believe those are actual stores in the game. Absolute fucking cattle, dude. Oh, how generous! If I had to use the game with an 80 USD light version, there are other games that have offered equal value or for less. They're just exploring the exaggerated hype for this. The exaggerated hype this game pushes. And the drug addicts are defending and thanking for the dealer no matter what they do. Sad but true. Why call it Ultimate Edition when include standard features only? Just call it the Brock Edition and the Standard Edition respectively. Also respectfully! Guess what you're in the eyes of Rockstar if you buy that edition. But anyway, I'll just get neither. Screw Rockstar. True unfair. And we have here a final statement from Christina. I think she's hoping a little bit too much. GTA 6 feels like a game whose entire audience of excited people aren't even a thing now, let alone back when GTA 5 was released. I've seen those brain rot videos. I know most adults treat it as just another game. Literally most of the coverage about it is basically those TikTok shouty men who don't know how to control their volume with AI screenshots. It will sell a bajillion zillion copies. You'd be down to think otherwise, but most are just gonna get it as they would any other game. With that price, I'm not so sure. I guess normies would do, right? Because they're normies. And normies will just buy whatever fucking bullshit as they always do. I guess this is just a normie problem again. And it's hilarious to me. Oh wow, look at this. It looks beautiful. Have you seen this towel? What about the fucking gameplay? Am I asking too much if I ask for the gameplay? I don't think so. I just think it makes sense. Where's the gameplay? Where's the game? Now worth to be saying. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think GTA 6 would be one of the worst things that could happen to games. It's not even about the price. It's gotta be New Age, Red Dead 2, I guess. We'll see. Time will tell. I'd rather play all games as usual. Not like all new games are ass. But all games are good. In general. What else do we have here? I think we have a couple more things about games. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, okay. Alright. We have to stay here. Also, absolutely horrible. Take-Two CEO Strzelnik. Hey, it's that name again. But Liberty Gaming Industry could enter commercial streaming mode within the next 3 years. Hold a bullet in my brain. I'm not even asking, I'm demanding. He says improvements in cloud tech and the rising cost of gaming hardware, which push more people towards streaming games instead of running them on their own consoles or PCs. You will have nothing, and you will be happy. You won't even have the fucking computer to play the game in. Forget about the game itself. As a release, this could massively expand the potential gaming audience, with Take-Two estimating its reach could grow by as much as 10 times. So, gaming is gonna get 10 times as worse. And that means you step toward the future where you don't really own the games you buy. You don't know anything, Cameron. I don't know, this guy seems to be skizzing out. This is why we save the high saves, baby! Start buying games from GOG and back up your purchase games however you want. True and real. True and real. I need to buy more shit on GOG when I actually buy all games. I'm gonna be honest. I actually do not practice what I predicate. I'm sorry. I too am a fucking lunatic. What do we have here? Oh jeez, dude. This one is absolutely fucking crazy to me. Hold up. I know, the guy is Indian, get used to it. It happens a lot. It is not in my hand. Then I'm once again looking at the Indian. Seems crazy. The movie Spider-Man Brand New Day paid BMW to take over the display of every BMW made it after 2020. When you start a BMW, it shows you an ad for Spider-Man. Really cheapens BMW, AMO.
What is this? Surprise, Spider-Man just dropped into your Beamer.
Beamer.
Oh.
Why? Why ads in your car? Huh? Let me up the volume a little bit. That's crazy. I don't want to see ads. I don't want to see ads in my car. What is wrong with you? Of course I don't want to see ads in my car. But I guess this is once again BMW making being the poster child for, hey, have you ever considering hacking your car? No? Maybe you should start. I've been saying this for years, by the way. Do you remember that strange piece of news a couple of years ago? I think it was about 2021 or 2022. With a... You have to pay a monthly subscription to have access to your heated seats in your BMW. How about no? I understand paying the extra when I buy the car. That's always been the case. Because you're actually paying for more product. Or a car that can do more things. No. No. I don't care about your subscriptions. I don't care about your ads. You know what I'm gonna do? At this rate, I'm gonna hack into the car. I don't even have a BMW, and I don't think I would ever buy one, but still. I'm gonna hack into the car, and I'm gonna install SteamOS at this rate. And no, we have a Steam now. That'll be much more useful for sure. If you're not thinking about hacking cars, it might be time. Your own car. Custom firmware. That's what I mean. Not trying to steal any other people's cars or anything like that. Absolutely fucking bonkers, dude. That's crazy. I guess I want to finish this section with this quote in a post. Gonna say she's behind the times. She's scared of using digital payments / wallet. Free Wi-Fi at the hotels and connected to Bluetooth for headphones, keyboard or mouse. If she can't see it, it makes her nervous. She's so smart, dude. The idea of money being digital just kind of scares me. Yep, my mouse is wired. My keyboard is wired too. I want to actually see it. If I can see it, it makes me nervous. I might be old, but I do relate to this a lot. I don't think that's being actually behind the times. I think being on with the times is actually pretty dangerous. Especially when we're talking about digital money. Yeah, if you don't see it, you don't really have it. But then again, it's not surprising. Okay, I need to... I guess we can finish for today with something about dating. We talked about dating a little bit in the beginning, so I guess it makes sense. It's only tangentially related, mind you, but I think it's somewhat interesting. Is it this one? No, it's this one. For the third time in history, women are number men in the workforce as the stay-at-home boyfriend becomes an economic trend. That's not good. That's not good for society. It's not good for men, it's not good for women. Then again, here we are. You probably know a woman supporting an unemployed man. Maybe you've been that woman. What used to be an embarrassing secret has quickly become a macroeconomic data point, and now the Federal Reserve has the receipts. As of early 2026, women held more payroll jobs than men in the US. This has happened twice before. Briefly during the Great Recession, and again just before COVID. And both times it reversed. Laura Ulrich, or Ulrich, I guess it would be more correct, a former regional economist at the Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond, who authored a March analysis for Indeed's Hiring Lab, says this time is structurally different. It definitely doesn't. To me, some of the change has been driven by a recessionary period. I mean, it's not like the economy is good anyway, but I guess. Which is what typically drives it, she told Fortune. This has to be more of a long-term decline that has led to a more of a permanent shift going forward. Or at least semi-permanent. Do you guys remember when they were complaining for almost a decade? Oh, but what about the gender pay gap? Oh, the wage gap, as they called it. It was actually men getting into higher paying jobs than women. Well, I guess we got to the desired future when the strong independent women just get to earn more money. Wow, who cares? It's just more money. You were not that positive when it was, quote unquote, affecting women. But of course, if they didn't have double standards, they wouldn't have any standards at all. What is the gender gap in labor force participation? In the early 90s, men held nearly 7 million more jobs than women. That gap gradually shrunk over the last 3 decades and is now gone. It's actually on the opposite side, I guess. The trend continued over the last year, Ulrich said, pointing to the labor force participation rate data from the Federal Reserve. Over the last 12 months, jobs held by men fell by a net 142,000, while women gained 298,000. Of the 1.2 million jobs added between February 2024 and February 2026, 2/3 went to women. Oh, brother. Oh, brother. I cannot say for sure this is happening in the US. I can only say that it's more than probably happening in the US. But this is just, as usual, the results of modern society. You have beaten men into the ground while rewarding women just for being woman. Once again, we have to remind people, in many locations, and I bet still happening in the US, despite what the president might tell you, you will get gigs from the government just as you hire quote-unquote minorities. Those being, I don't know, women, blacks, who knows. All of these strange individuals. So much for meritocracy, huh? The gender gap in labor force participation rate has also narrowed. The rate has fallen nearly 20 points since tracking began in 1948, from 86.7% to 67.2%. Do not make 6-7 jokes here. I swear to God, I'm gonna get you. And you're gonna bite the dust. The female rate jumped from 32% to 57.2% in that span. And you think the economy is better now? No it isn't. No it isn't. But it's fine because of women. Who wrote this? Gioino. Caterina Gioino. That's an Italian sounding name. You would expect this woman to be Italian American. I would expect you to be actually born in America and know English as your first language. Why are men exiting the workforce more ESL than me? It's this is what happens. This is what happens when you hire the women. See what I mean? Of course, that's supposed to be a joke, but it's not entirely wrong. This further narrative gets complicated and more interesting. Both male and female participation rates are lower than they were in 2000, but men are falling off at a rate towards women's decline. Right before COVID, the male labor force participation rate was 69.2%. It's now 67.2%, a 2 points drop. The female rate dropped just 0.6 points over the same period. It's fewer men entering, Ulrich said. Younger men today are less likely to be working than their fathers were at the same age. You know why? Because you cannot get into a job. It's an entry-level job. Why do you need 5 years of experience? It's the same as the insane post you see on social media about dating. I'm not asking really for too much. Less than 1% of all American males. Yeah, I'm not asking too much. No, I'm just asking for the apex of society. But it's fine. No, it isn't. And even if you get into a job, they pay you pretty much nothing. And if you're a man, God forbid you're a white male, you're not scaling. We've read articles about those already. But I've been here working as a journalist for so long, and they keep promoting everybody else. Even people have been here just for months. Oh, geez, they happen to be women. They happen to be black. They happen to be gay. Do you think that has to do something with what's going on? I don't know, man. I don't know. Ever heard of DEI? It's not as dead as you would think. They're just shutting the hell up. So, who's supporting them? Has been more of a transition where parents are supporting their adult children for longer, she said. There is a chance that more young adult men live with their parents than women. The wealth transfer from older generations to younger generations is part of that story. I think you mean the lack of wealth transfer. Have you seen the boomers? Yeah, not leaving anything for the kids. Why not? What? Ah, doesn't that little kids? If it was a different kid, okay, cool. They are your kids. What are you doing? That happens in the US. I don't think it happens here, really. Not as much. And then there are the partners. Almost everybody you talk to will have a story about supporting an employed man, Ulrich said. And that what's changed isn't the dynamic itself, but the fact that it no longer carries the stigma it once did. It's not that it doesn't carry the stigma it once did. It carries the stigma nonetheless, but you're using it as a weapon. Because you're still trying to beat down men. Because you don't like them for whatever reason. The stay-at-home boyfriend, once a punchline, is now a statistically significant labor market phenomenon, which is actually bad. Not because I'm here just hating the women's. No, it's because women have kids. Since women have kids, it would be better for the women to be the stay-at-home part of the equation. Because you're biologically wired for that. It's way better for the mother to take care of the kids. Because you have, how to say this, biological implements to do so, rather than the father. I just think it makes sense. We also can come in here with arguments similar to those of biological impulses. You have the career woman, she decides to have a kid, and suddenly she doesn't want to be a career woman anymore. She just wants to be wife at home, make baby, and be a stay-at-home mother. Which I think it's fair, but yeah, the current metagame doesn't allow for such a real spec, I'm afraid. I'll make a landmark paper published in the Journal of Political Economy, first circulated through the National Bureau of Economic Research, found that roughly 70% of the hours young men are working are being spent on video games and recreational computer use. I mean, I guess, makes sense, it's just like that, right? The economy has calculated that improvements in game technology since 2004 alone can explain nearly half the increase in young men's leisure hours. Okay, if it's just leisure, who cares? We're not talking about work. I try to blame video games, but it's not because of video games. I think that's part of the story, the basement story, Ulrich said, in reference to a trope of young men playing video games in their parents' basement. The opioid epidemic compounded it, hitting non-college educated men especially hard. Non-college educated men especially hard. You can just call them low class, it's fine. Nobody's gonna think you're talking about black people. And critically, men, compared to women, largely don't qualify for government assistance programs like SNAP or TANF without a disability. Then when they exit the workforce, the financial burden falls on whoever's closest to them. Oh jeez, I wonder, do you think maybe men are disadvantaged in society nowadays? But you cannot say that. You cannot say that. Of course the government is gonna protect the women. Yeah, you agree with me? The government protects the women, but not the men. Aren't we on the same page here? Who knows? Who knows anymore? The jobs that are growing and the jobs that aren't tell you almost everything. Healthcare and social assistance, which are 78.9% female, added 1.8 million jobs between July 2023 and July 2025, and accounted for more than half of all US job growth during that period. Most of this, middle management. I've seen the numbers. It's not useful. You don't have more nurses, you don't have more surgeons, you don't have more doctors. You have an exponential growth in middle management. That is not useful. Not in a hospital, at least. But most human sectors like manufacturing, tech, financial activities, and media have been stagnant or contracting. Well, some of these jobs have been thrown in a little bit of turmoil thanks to new technology, which of course is going to happen. But then again, if you have to compete with literally all of the planet just because you know a little bit about tech, that's also not fair. One driver for this, women already have the training for the jobs that exist. As of 2023, 87% of nursing bachelor's students were women. In speech-language pathology, a six-figure profession, 96.4% of master's students are female. Medical schools have been majority female since 2019. This is hilarious. This is absolutely hilarious. See? It's normal because more women are college educated. When it was more men, you were complaining about it. Also, it's hilarious you're talking about medical schools when we have here on the back burner, which we might get to next week. Citing severe math deficits, UC faculty demand return to set tests for STEM applicants. I'm not sure if healthcare counts as STEM, but it's funny. It's funny. The more diverse the students in college, the worse things are. I wonder why. The pipeline is female, the growth sectors are female, and the jobs are most protected from AI displacement. Caregiving, healthcare, in-person services are female. Nobody talking here about plumbing or electricians and whatnot. Cool. High demand for those jobs still. Jobs most exposed to AI are disproportionately held by men. More strikingly, or ignored, is as women move into the workforce and up the corporate ladder, they create jobs for women, including daycare, pet care, and in-home services. Won't this be bad? Why only for women? Well, it's women, so it's fine. That's usually the same excuse they use. Educational programs. This is not even mentioning the amount of government help these people get. Because it happens. I have seen it. It's still happening. If you're a guy, I'm sorry, you're just screwed. Get into labor school. You might not be rich, but you will have a job. Yeah, depends on where you live, I guess, but plumbing and electricians, high demand still. So if you're into that, that's not a horrible idea. They're not gonna be taken by AI. That's the least I can say. Economist Richard Reeves, a American scholar who delved into the economic data behind the male loneliness epidemic in the book Of Boys and Men, has argued the same cultural efforts that move women into STEM need to be applied in reverse. Steer men toward healthcare, education, and psychology. Why don't you shut up and let people work in what they want to work? Maybe we need more men being nurses. Maybe men don't want to be nurses. How about that? Because women didn't want to be engineers anyway. Okay, I being in the tech side all of my education life, there are no women. Oh geez, in a class of 24, 3 women. 3 whole women? Wow! That's a baseball. No, women are just not interested in STEM, and that's fine. The thing is, you're trying to force people into jobs they don't want. And even if you actually manage to get them into those jobs, they're gonna hate them. I don't want to be a nurse. I don't want to be near sick people. I don't want to be near old people. I'm a hermit. I want to be in a cave, doing some tiki-takis with the machines. If this was 1500 years ago, I would be still in a cave, probably making weapons, trying to make the best weapon ever. Why? Well, why not? Just because I can, maybe, potentially? I know that's more physical, but still. I don't think I will be the tribe shaman or anything like that. Though it could be cool. Imagine the power, that's a different tangent, who cares? So far, there's little sign of that happening. The educational programs within the growth sectors are, if anything, becoming more female over time. But you will never say this is actually a problem. As we reported, the trend in the labor force participation gap shows no post-decision bounds, no cyclical correction, no historical parallel to prior reversals. It's more like a one-way door. If you look at the overall downward trend, she said, it's just being a downward trajectory. The stay-at-home boyfriend is no longer just a TikTok trend. It's a Federal Reserve data point. And the woman paying his rent is increasingly the American economy. What an absolute disaster. What an absolute disaster. Women in general don't want to be the breadwinners. And that shows. Because they still are trying to date up. The problem is, you have changed society so much that women are outperforming the men. So, both the men and the women are screwed beyond recognition. Not trying to be alarmist or anything like that, but these people have been destroying modern society. And now they finally managed to do it? Are they gonna complain too? Spare me your useless dribble. I'm not gonna send you back to the kitchen, but I'm gonna send you back to school. Because this ESL is unacceptable. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Ah, man. Been betting on your fucking life and suddenly, oh, well, that's a problem. Yeah, no fucking shit, Sherlock. No fucking shit. What did you expect that was gonna happen, huh? These people are absolutely fucking insane, and I don't like them. Anyway, I guess time for me to take my leave. What's the plan for next week? Well, let me tell you. Schedule will be out tomorrow. However, I can say some things. We're gonna have Secret Gold on Monday. We should start Jump Force on Wednesday. And for Thursday, I've been thinking. I had this idea for a little bit. And right now, it's probably the best time to do it. I've been thinking for some time of making a stream showcasing Pokemon games that only released in Japan. Yeah, but expect that all of those games will make it to the West, but they actually didn't. Not all of them are translated, so we might struggle a little bit. I will need to make sure I can acquire them and potentially patch them. I will need to check that later. Something that I'm gonna do today. If it doesn't work, I will come up with something else, I guess. And of course, Saturday, still yapping. We'll see what's gonna happen this next week. But yeah, we've been going a little bit over time, more than usual, which is a bit annoying. I don't think it's that hot right now, but jeez, I'm still cooking my balls, man. I'm still cooking my balls. Anyway, that's gonna be everything for me today, so thank you all for coming. Hope you guys have fun. Coming back on Monday with more Sacred Gold. I need to make sure I can bring up the game in less than 30 minutes, unlike last time. Until then, you know the rules. I am sick of the propagandists as much as anybody else. We need to understand what they're saying, we need to understand the lies, and the most important thing is we need to tell them, no, you're a fucking idiot, and I know you're lying to me. You don't even understand the consequences of your own actions. So I'm gonna leave me the fuck alone, and peace out, and take care.